Chapter 566. However, Xiaoyi had never seen this pair of weird-looking gloves before. Feng Tian was just messing around when he slaughtered the Tang family that night. He still kept his trump card. Sensing the terrifying aura coming from the gloves, Xiao Yi's expression turned gloomy. He felt that this wasn't an ancient godly artifact. What is it? Could there be something even more powerful than this ancient godly artifact? Xiao Yi, kill yourself now, and I'll leave your corpse intact. Feng Tian shouted coldly. With half of his mask on, he looked extremely ferocious and mysterious. Unexpectedly, his words made Chen Xuanzong laugh. Ha ha! Xiao Yi, you didn't expect this, right? This is a slap to your face, right? Ha ha ha! Shut up! Xiao Yi's Shenyuan sword instantly slashed towards the laughing Chen Xuanzong. Qing Tian muttered. Feng Tian seemed to resist, but he still disappeared on the spot. Just as Chen Xuanzong was about to block the incoming sword qi, he felt like he fell into a warm embrace. The scene froze at this moment. Wang Debao took out his phone and took a picture. Then, he uploaded it to the Cultivation Worlds forum. Title: Justice Alliance saves Chen Xuanzong. The previous picture was still attached below. It seemed very lively. In addition to Chen Xuanzong's panicked expression and Feng Tian's condescending attitude, it seemed very gay. Feng Tian leaned down slightly and hugged Chen Xuanzong with his right hand. Chen Xuanzong was half lying in Feng Tian's embrace. The two of them were looking at each other. At this moment, the background music should be played again to confirm the look in each other's eyes. Chen Xuanzong looked at the golden red eyes and the mask, and he seemed a little panicked. What the hell is this? You were saved. Feng Tian endured the pain in his heart and said such a sentence. Wang Debao accepted this sentence very well and then sent it to the forum. What a touching sentence. I was saved? Can't I accept it? Are you shameless? Feng Tian felt like he was going to vomit. He shouted towards Qing Tian. Is that enough? Qing Tian was looking at the replies on the forum and felt that it was enough. All right, let's get down to business. Feng Tian's hand suddenly loosened, and Chen Xuanzong was thrown onto the ground. Are you sick? Feng Tian slowly turned around. His eyes emitted a bone-chilling killing intent. Chen Xuanzong immediately shut his mouth. This man is even more terrifying than Xiao Yi. Xiao Yi. Today, I will execute you in the name of justice. Feng Tian spoke according to his script, and Wang Debao's task was to record this battle. Of course, he still had to edit out the parts that needed to be edited out. Xiaoyi didn't say anything. A vast spirit energy gathered in the clouds. Today, I'll let you see my true strength. Suddenly, the spiritual energy in the clouds descended and covered Xiaoyi. The terrifying spiritual energy was like a raging wave that pierced through heaven and earth. In the surroundings, there were a lot of people who had come because of the fame. When they saw such a terrifying scene, they did not dare to get close. If they were killed, it would be such a waste. A moment later, the world returned to darkness. Xiao Yi's entire body emitted a pure white light. He was so extraordinary that people couldn't help but want to worship him. I didn't expect you to have such strength in just a few months. No wonder you're so arrogant. Feng Tian said softly. The gloves on his hands didn't show any signs of weakening. It was a prehistoric godly item that had shocking battle strength. Xiao Yi's temperament became faintly discernible just now. Ants, why aren't you kneeling down and submitting to me? These words were completely reasonable. Then take my punch first. Feng Tian shouted. The gloves on his hands seemed to have sensed its master's anger and started to move. Without any exaggerated destruction, Feng Tian punched out with a loud bang. This was the difference between godly items. For example, ancient godly items would release their power and greatly weaken themselves. However, prehistoric godly items didn't have such exaggerated special effects. By condensing all their power, the power produced would be horrifying. Xiao Yi snorted. He didn't see the true nature of the gloves. He raised his Shenyuan sword and stabbed out. A terrifying black radiance that brought along destructive power struck towards Feng Tian's fist. Feng Tian didn't have the slightest bit of fear. After all, this was a genuine prehistoric godly item. Lowly ant, die! Xiao Yi shouted, and the black radiance on Shenyuan's sword became even more terrifying. Feng Tian laughed, seemingly mocking Xiao Yi's ignorance. When the gloves and Shen Yuan's sword came into contact, there wasn't any explosion. Because the tip of Shen Yuan's sword began to bend, as if a piece of metal was being squeezed by a powerful force. Xiao Yi opened his eyes wide and looked at his Shen Yuan sword in disbelief as it started to bend. This is impossible. How did you do it? Did you use some sort of smokescreen? Xiao Yi muttered. He was completely unable to accept what was happening in front of him. This is my own Shen Yuan sword. How can this be? In actuality, this Shen Yuan sword is only an imitation. The real Shen Yuan sword is still in voidless realm. Xiao Yi, you overestimate yourself too much. You are nothing more than an insignificant chess piece in this world. Qing Tian laughed lightly. Xiao Yi abruptly retreated and threw away the Shen Yuan sword in his hand. If not, that fist would have injured him. The Shen Yuan sword that looked like a scrap metal fell onto the ground. Feng Tian didn't mind it at all, and the intersecting golden and red radiance on the Shen Yuan sword was sucked clean in an instant. Afterward, the might emitted from the gloves increased by a bit once again. You actually... What kind of weapon is this? Xiao Yi panicked. The imposing manner he had just a moment ago was thrown to the back of his head, and he no longer dared to act arrogantly. The other party destroyed his weapon with a single punch and even absorbed the weapon's energy. How could he not be shocked? Xiao Yi, I told you if you kill yourself, I'll leave you with an intact corpse. Feng Tian swung his fist once again. This time, Xiao Yi won't be able to escape death. Chen Xuanzong's jaw was about to fall onto the ground. Xiao Yi's weapon is an ancient godly artifact. This man's gloves are actually able to destroy an ancient godly artifact? Am I seeing things? Xiao Yi's expression was very grave, and suddenly, he looked towards Qing Tian who was smiling at the side. This damned fellow, as long as I kill him, there should still be a bit of hope. As for strength, Xiao Yi felt that Qing Tian's strength shouldn't be very strong. After all, last time, Qing Tian didn't even participate in the battle at all. With this thought in mind, Xiao Yi didn't think too much about it and turned around to attack Qing Tian. And when Feng Tian saw that Xiao Yi had found his target, he actually didn't chase after Xiao Yi. Instead, he looked as if he was watching a show. Chapter 567. Qing Tian naturally saw Feng Tian's action and laughed lightly. Of course, he didn't put Xiao Yi, who suddenly appeared in his eyes, and he just stood there motionlessly. Big brother Qing, be careful. Wang Debao couldn't help but shout out. This Qing Tian is actually standing there motionlessly. Don't get careless. Bai Zixin and Feng Di who were at the side didn't say anything, seemingly wanting to see just what kind of person Qing Tian is and how strong he is. After all, Qing Tian has always been the one giving orders to everyone. If he doesn't have powerful strength, how can he be the team leader? This scene was seen by Qing Tian. Xiao Yi, who was crazily slaughtering, arrived in front of Qing Tian, but Qing Tian still didn't move. However, right at this moment, Xiao Yi's body actually stopped. If the spiritual sword were to move forward a centimeter, it would be able to touch Qing Tian's forehead and even penetrate through his head. However, Xiao Yi was unable to do it, because his body couldn't move at all. Xiao Yi, actually, we used to be a very good team, what a pity. Qing Tian slowly said. Seeing Xiao Yi struggling in midair, everyone was shocked. Just how did Qing Tian do this? Although in Feng Di's eyes, Xiao Yi is a bit weak, but to control Xiao Yi like this, even Feng Di wouldn't be able to do it, let alone Wang Debao and Bai Zixin. Chen Xuanzong who was at the side was stupefied. This man is too terrifying, isn't he? Xiao Yi's powerful spiritual energy disappeared in an instant. Qing Tian. You guys are ruthless. Xiao Yi's gaze was filled with unwillingness. I just reincarnated this morning, and I didn't expect that I would die in less than a day. Qing Tian took out a napkin, wiped the back of his hand, then folded it and said lightly, Xiao Yi, it's not that we are ruthless, but since we are already dead, why bother reincarnating? You know that we are going to capture those who reincarnated. Today I, Xiao Yi, have nothing to say about falling into your hands, but I still have a request. Xiao Yi seemed to have given up on resisting, because the other party was too strong. Even without Qing Tian, there was still Feng Di. Qing Tian nodded his head. If I can do it, I will satisfy you. Destroy Voidless Realm. Xiao Yi said coldly. Qing Tian frowned, then raised his head and looked toward Xiao Yi. "All right, I promise you. Give me a quick death." Xiao Yi slowly closed his eyes. There was a hint of exhaustion on his face. In the end, Xiao Yi was also a pitiful person. He only wanted the Xiao family to become stronger and for his wife and children to live a different life. Everyone had this kind of thought, but everyone's method was different. Xiao Yi was one of those people who chose the wrong method. If he had submitted to death mage right from the start, there wouldn't be such a situation right now. He might even be able to live happily with his family right now, and he might even have the chance to revive his wife. "All right, I'll satisfy your request." Qing Tian smiled and pointed at Xiao Yi's forehead with his index finger. Xiao Yi trembled violently and his skin turned gray. Then he fell to the ground lifeless. Xiao Yi's storage bag fell into the hands of heaven and earth. This rebirth usually brought along good things, just like the dragon blade that was given to him at level 100. "Debao, you have to cut off what needs to be cut off, okay?" Qing Tiandi reminded him. Oh, all right," Wang Debao said blankly. This move that Wang Debao had just performed had shocked everyone. Looking at Qing Tiandi said faintly, "Your performance today isn't good, so your distribution will be a bit less." Qing Tiandi didn't say anything, which could be considered as him agreeing. Wang Debao's performance is not bad, and his photography skills are also good. Qing Tiandi started to comment. Wang Debao laughed foolishly. "I often help my wife take photos, so I practiced it." Bai Zixin glared at her husband. "How can you say something like this? Haha, from now on, you will be the team's publicist." Qing Tiandi patted on Wang Debao's shoulder. This made Wang Debao a bit scared. The method that Qing Tiandi used to kill Xiao Yi was too terrifying. It was practically no different from killing an ant. "Don't worry, I will do it well," Wang Debao said sincerely. Is your team still lacking people?" A soft voice sounded from the side. Chen Xuanzong could be seen walking over slowly. Just now, he saw Xiao Yi die, and his mood was very good. Although he wasn't taking revenge for himself, he still saw his enemy die. Qing Tiandi laughed loudly. "You are most welcome." "Thank you." Chen Xuanzong felt that he had found a team. "This group of people is too strong. If I join them, I will definitely be able to kill that damned Long Outyan and save Qingya." In actuality, Chen Xuanzong was a bit scared, because he had just heard a lot of things. If he were to leave just like that, he would most likely be killed. Knowing the strength of the other party, how would Chen Xuanzong dare to leave? Therefore, he could only request to join them. Furthermore, the other party's target seemed to be Voidless Realm. Just thinking about that Long Outyan hiding in Voidless Realm made Chen Xuanzong tremble in anger. Qing Tiandi opened up his arms and shouted gravely, "From today onwards, our Justice Alliance will officially fire the first shot. Also, we welcome new comrades to join us. At such an exciting moment, we should go and do something. How about we grab some skewers?" Wang Debao suggested. Qing Tiandi nodded. "Good idea. However, it's the first day of Chinese New Year. There shouldn't be any restaurants that are open, right?" "I know a restaurant that is open. The chicken wings there are very delicious," Qin Xuanzong said. "After all, I have just joined them. It's not bad to treat them to supper." Qing Tiandi was very happy. "All right, let our new members lead the way." "Then, how are we going to deal with Xiao Yi's corpse?" Wang Debao asked curiously. Qing Tiandi sighed lightly. "No matter what, we are still colleagues. Let's take a photo as a souvenir." "Everyone," Chen Xuanzong cursed in his heart. "Xiao Yi is already dead, and you are still taking a photo as a souvenir. Damn pervert." However, Qing Tiandi's move just now had indeed frightened everyone, and thus, no one dared to offend him. And the result was, Chen Xuanzong and Wang Debao held onto Xiao Yi's corpse and had a big reunion. Then, Qing Tiandi burned Xiao Yi's corpse with fire. Ashes to ashes, dust to dust. I hope that Xiao Yi can be a good person in his next life and live a peaceful life. Those who died were all greedy people. Lao Wu Barbecue was quite famous in Zijin City. Even if it was the first night of Chinese New Year, the place would still be packed with people. The 6 members of Justice Alliance finally managed to get a seat. Chapter 568. Feng Tian and Feng Di remained silent. Wang Debao and Bai Cixin were already used to it, but Chen Xuanzong, who had just arrived, was not used to it. The weak are prey to the strong will naturally get it first. Chen Xuanzong said solemnly. Qing Tiandi patted onto Chen Xuanzong's shoulder and said earnestly, "Young man, your life is too short. If you were as long as me you would understand." Seeing that Chen Xuanzong was unwilling to accept it, Qing Tiandi planned to use his own words to convince Chen Xuanzong, to let him understand that being long is very useful. The other four immediately ignored him. This Chen Xuanzong is going to be brainwashed again. Right now, the Cultivation Worlds Forum was in an uproar. The Righteous Alliance had really destroyed Xiao Yi, and even insta-killed him. There is also a fellow who wore boxing gloves, and it seems like he was able to defeat Xiao Yi as well. This is truly terrifying. That previous post was immediately dug out by someone, and the number of comments reached several tens of thousands. The moderator even added a gem to the post. Justice Alliance is too awesome. How do I join? I want to join too. My God, I want to join too. This is the place that I yearn for. That's right, Voidless Realm and Ding family don't care about anything. We might as well join this Justice Alliance. That's right, finally, a powerful organization stood out and ended this ridiculous monopoly. Only by joining the Justice Alliance can my life be guaranteed. I want to leave the South. I want to leave the North too. A large number of people who wanted to leave appeared on the Cultivation Worlds Forum. Qing Tiandi was very satisfied with everyone's attitude. This is the right choice. There is no need to rely on those two big powers. Should I learn more about Justice Alliance? Within Voidless Realm, Yi Hua and his two wives were also looking at the post on the Cultivation Worlds Forum, and they were a bit surprised. To Yi Hua, this Qing Tiandi is not bad. He has some brains. I can play with you a bit. Bullying you with my strength is nothing. After all, we are all people who use brains. This Qing Tiandi is a schemer. Qing Ye said gravely while hugging onto her son who was sleeping soundly. Donghuang Baiji was also hugging onto Ali, who was sleeping soundly, and said in a low voice, "That's right, you exchanged Xiao Yi for such a great value." Yi Hua took out a stick of cigarette and lit it up, then said faintly, "This Xiao Yi killed so many people, whoever acted to kill him would be a hero. Furthermore, the one who acted is an organization, and the one who instantly killed Xiao Yi is even more so an organization. Furthermore, this person's attitude is very good and down to earth. It would be weird if he didn't jump ship." Donghuang Baiji rolled her eyes at her husband. "Then why are you still making us wait? If Xiao Yi is killed by us, wouldn't Voidless Realm's reputation become even greater?" "That's right," Qing Ye said lightly. With regards to her husband, she was very confused. "Women, your hair is long, but your knowledge is short," Yi Hua said indifferently. He was very pleased with himself. "I just like to bully my wife." Qing Ya and Donghuang Baiji immediately looked towards their husband. They seemed to be saying, "Try and teach us another lesson." Yi Hua stopped here and said softly, "If we were to make a move, then what reason would they have to make a move? If they want to become famous, then we will give them a chance. Moreover, I'm afraid that Sky Pillar doesn't just need these." "Then what does he want?" Qing Ye asked curiously. Yi Hua flicked away the ash on his cigarette, then took a puff and exhaled. The smoke lingered in the air, causing his two wives to wrinkle their brows. Some people like authority, some people like money, some people like supreme strength, and some people like to play. Hearing what her husband meant, Donghuang Baiji asked puzzledly, "What kind of person is Sky Pillar?" "Play." This was what Qing Ye felt. Yi Hua nodded his head. This kind of person likes to be in control of the entire situation. They like the feeling of having everything in their hands, and they feel that this kind of person is very smart." Qing Ya and Donghuang Baiji simultaneously looked towards Yi Hua, seemingly to be saying, "Isn't this you?" Cough, cough, cough. "What are you looking at? Be careful that I don't slap the two of you." Yi Hua's expression became stiff. "When a tiger doesn't show off, do you think that I am a sick cat? The two of you are very arrogant and have even learned to talk back to me." The two women snorted and began to lecture Yi Hua again. Having a husband like this is also a kind of helplessness. "From the looks of it, hubby, you already have a plan?" Donghuang Baiji asked. Yi Hua extinguished the cigarette but, "Of course. Tell us, Let us listen to your plan. Qingya was very curious. She wanted to hear what kind of plan her husband had come up with. Let nature take its course. Yihua said faintly, then stood up and walked back to his room to sleep, leaving his 2 wives to sit in the courtyard. Qingya and Donghuang Baiji went into a daze for a moment, then shouted out, Yihua, will you die if you don't act cool? I will. At a remote mountainous area, smoke was currently emitting out from the chimney of a small thatched cottage. A change of clothes was hung on a rope outside the thatched cottage, and there were a few old hens inside the cage. The light in the small thatched cottage was still on. My little darling, do you want to sleep? Long Outyen could be seen leaning onto Meng Meng's stomach, wanting to listen to the child's voice. Meng Meng had been pregnant for around 6 months. During this period of time, Long Outyen had been taking care of his wife attentively and didn't have any thoughts of going out. Outyen, there are still a few more months. Meng Meng said happily. Because she felt that Long Outyen didn't have any thoughts of going out, it seemed like he could stay here and accompany her. Long Outyen was very excited as he gestured with his hands. I am too excited. In a few more months, I will have a child, haha. All right, don't be so excited every day. Meng Meng laughed lightly and stroked her sideburns. Long Outyen retracted his excited expression. I really want to tell the whole world about this and share the joy of this moment. But there are only us here. Meng Meng let out a breath. Long Outyen suddenly thought of something. There is one more. Is it that person who is chasing after you? Yesterday, on Chinese New Year's Eve, I asked you to come over and have a meal with me, but you didn't want to. In any case, that person has been chasing after you for half a year. Long Outyen, I will go out for a while first, I will be back soon. Be careful, if you can't win, just run back. Got it. Long Outyen ran madly. I haven't fought with that skeleton for a few months. I wonder if it is still there or not. I am coming. Long Outyen shouted out loudly. Swish. A black figure instantly appeared not far away from him. It was precisely Death Assassin. Death Assassin seemed to have been forgotten by everyone. Because Death Assassin had never completed this mission, he had always been guarding this place. Even on Chinese New Year's Eve, he was still leaning on a big tree and pondering about the future. Skeleton. My Dragon God technique is already at the 5th level. Today, let us properly play. Long Outyen's body trembled, and a burst of spiritual energy suddenly burst out from his body. Death Assassin looked at Long Outyen indifferently and let out a breath. GGG, Imperial Translation, why aren't you dead yet? Chapter 569. Death Mage was helpless and could only pull out his blade and attack. I'll dodge again, you can't hit me. Io, this is the new clothes that Meng Meng gave me, bastard. Stop, I admit defeat, big brother. Don't mess around. We can talk about it actually, I came here today to chat with you. GGG, Imperial Translation. There's nothing to talk about, I can't kill you, I can only wait for you to die. After that, I can go back and report back. Seeing that the skeleton stopped attacking, Long Outyen let out a light sigh. In this godforsaken place, other than Meng Meng, there's only you, I can't even find someone to talk to. GGG. Imperial Translation. At least you have a woman to accompany you, I don't have anything at all. Long Outyen also felt that the skeleton wasn't here to kill him, but to trap him here. Thus, he wasn't that afraid. Sitting on the rock, he supported his back with both of his hands and looked at the starry sky. Let me tell you a good news. I'm going to be a father. Long Outyen said lightly. Death Assassin stood at the side and didn't speak. Aya, I still haven't thought of what to name my child. The name that Meng Meng thought of is too sissy. I feel that it should be more domineering. Skeleton, what do you think would be more domineering? That's right, you don't even know how to speak. Speaking of which, at least I have Meng Meng to accompany me. You don't even have anyone to accompany you. You are even more pitiful than me. Today is also the first day of Chinese New Year. Do you want to go to my house to eat something? I also have chicken drumsticks. How about it? Hearing that there wasn't any movement behind him, Long Outyen turned his head around and saw that Death Assassin was nowhere to be seen. Letting out a deep sigh, Long Outyen walked back to his house. Death Assassin, who was not far away, looked at Long Outyen's back view and slowly sat down. Leaning against a big tree, He looked at the boundless starry sky. When will it end? I really miss the days in the past. Long Outyen, who returned to the small thatched cottage, shook his head. Outyen, that assassin isn't coming? Meng Meng asked. He might feel embarrassed. Meng Meng nodded her head. He is too pitiful. He has been guarding you for more than half a year, and he doesn't even have anyone to talk to. Yeah, forget it. Let's not talk about him. Let's go to sleep. Long Outyen's state of mind had indeed changed a lot. He was no longer as impetuous as he used to be. He had become more down to earth, and the idea of having multiple wives and concubines had disappeared with the birth of his child. His current life was the real deal. If Xiao Yi had the same thoughts as Long Aotian, he wouldn't have died so miserably. This Long Aotian was a big winner in life. He had a wife and a child, and he even had Death Mage as his sparring partner. However, if he wanted to leave the mountain, he would have to defeat the Death Mage first. However, being able to defeat the Death Mage, this Long Outyen was already very awesome. In the God's Realm's heavenly palace, two men dressed in ordinary clothes were walking on a lifeless street. Some of the shop doors were still open, but they were already covered in dust. A few months ago, this was a bustling street, but now it had become like this. Chief Steward Su, where do you think everyone is? Beside him was a man of medium build. His name was Wang Hong, and in front of him was Lingdu's inner minister, Su Shen. Su Shen silently sized them up. His expression was very grave. This battle should have happened outside the city, but the terrain outside the city had already changed beyond recognition. This should be a very powerful sovereign. Seeing that Chief Steward did not say anything, Wang Hong said again, even if these people died, they should have left behind a trace of blood. Chief Steward, look, even the teacups are still there. Could it be that they evaporated? Actually, the two of them had already been in Heavenly Palace for a few days, and they had been collecting evidence. However, they did not manage to find anything. It seems like all the evidence had been erased. If there is no evidence to bring back this time, I'm afraid it will be hard to explain to Spirit Emperor. Su Shen lightly sighed. This time, Spirit Emperor had given a death order. They must definitely find out the cause of this matter. It would be good if there was a person involved. This group of people really did not let a single one of them off. They are trying to silence them. Wang Hong could not bear to see this. This imperial city has at least a few million people. This is too vicious. Indeed, extremely vicious. Su Shen nodded his head in agreement. All right, Chief Steward Su. These few days I also discovered a very strange matter. What matter? Chief Steward Su, please follow me. The two of them flew towards the horizon, heading towards the outside of the city. Chief Steward Su, look at this trace of fire coming from the horizon. Wang Hong said as he pointed towards the horizon. Didn't we already discuss this matter? It is the Inferno Abyssal Dragon. Su Shen said doubtfully. Wang Hong said gravely, that's right, it is indeed the Inferno Abyssal Dragon, but Chief Steward Su, look at the trace, I'm afraid that there is more than one of them. More than one? What proof do you have? Chief Steward Su, look below. Although there are a lot of cracks, look at those claw marks. Su Shen's gaze narrowed, and he flew down with Wang Hong. This. Su Shen tightly knitted his brows. He was very puzzled. Wang Hong said gravely, Chief Steward Su, I am also very puzzled. The posture of the Inferno Abyssal Dragon is simply too strange. From the angle of the claw marks and the number of them, there are a total of 3 of them, but they seem to be surrounding each other. Su Shen added. Wang Hong nodded his head. Then here comes the question. Why are the 3 Inferno Abyssal Dragons surrounding each other? Chief Steward Su, the origin of this Inferno Abyssal Dragon is not small. It is a prehistoric beast. Even an overlord can't do anything to it, let alone a deity from a small place like this. But the strange thing is, the Inferno Abyssal Dragon only seems to be standing here and did not participate in the battle. Wang Hong was very vexed. He was unable to figure out the reason no matter how hard he racked his brains. The person who is able to control 3 Inferno Abyssal Dragons must be very powerful. As for why the Inferno Abyssal Dragons did not participate in the battle, it should be because they were called over to intimidate. As for why they are surrounding each other, I really have no idea. Su Shen shook his head. This question was too hard to figure out. Chief Steward Su, this overlord is most likely very powerful. We should immediately go back and report to Spirit Emperor. We must not provoke him. 3 Inferno Abyssal Dragons are completely capable of destroying the entire Spirit City. Unless over 10 overlords come to suppress him together. Hearing that, Su Shen sunk into contemplation. Right now, I can only go back and report to Spirit Emperor that this overlord is very powerful, able to even call over the Inferno Abyssal Dragons. But just which overlord is this powerful? A beep suddenly rang out. Su Shen took out the jade slip and looked at it. His face was instantly filled with shock and even fear. Chief Steward Su, what happened? Seeing Chief Steward Su's expression, Wang Hong definitely knew that something big had happened. Su Shen put away the jade slip and said in a deep voice, Supreme Fa Lien was killed. His void land was also burned by a fire, and it was Sun Meteorite Heavenly Fire. Sun Meteorite Heavenly Fire? Isn't that Supreme Yuan Yang's ultimate move? Wang Hong was also shocked. Supreme Yuan Yang killed Supreme Fa Lien? Oh my god! How is this possible? Chapter 570. Yi Hua wouldn't release Sun Meteorite Heavenly Fire for no reason. In actuality, he could have directly killed Sovereign Fa Lien, and Sun Meteorite Heavenly Fire was meant to frame him. After all, Sun Meteorite Heavenly Fire was one of a kind. Even if that Sovereign Yuan Yang had more than 10 mouths, he wouldn't be able to explain it clearly. We have to quickly return to Lingdu. Something big is going to happen. Su Shen's expression tensed up. Sovereign killing sovereigns is incredible. If the sovereign's nature is bad, then everyone will be killed, just like that battle 5 years ago. The two didn't think too much and immediately disappeared from where they stood. A conspiracy that came from Yi Hua is going to attack God's realm. Framing others, Yi Hua is playing very well right now. On the morning of the second day of Chinese New Year, Yi Hua heard the report from Brett. I didn't expect that Voidless Realm's target is actually Voidless Realm. Interesting, what a bold idea. Toward such a matter, Yi Hua wished for them to come earlier, but he felt that they might not be able to come. Should I give them some motivation? Yi Hua, let's go. Qingya carried her son and walked over. To where? Of course, to go to my father-in-law's place. Aren't we supposed to return to our parents' place on the second day of Chinese New Year? To be honest, Yi Hua didn't want to go to his father-in-law's place at all. Looking at her husband's unwilling look, Qingya still doesn't know that Yi Hua's identity is right there. Even I can't do anything about it. But no matter what, they are still my parents. Yi Hua, I am just going to take a seat. There is no need for you to give me a red packet. Yi Hua. Is this a problem with the red packet? Do I look like such a petty person? Hubby, Qingya begged. Speaking of which, my parents have only met Yi Hua once, and that time was very unpleasant. Now that the child has already been born, there shouldn't be anything to say, right? Go! Yi Hua said gravely. This human custom is truly troublesome. After Baiji's child is born, I will consider going back too. So obedient, let me reward you, Qingya kissed Yi Hua. However, Yi Hua didn't just want to kiss her. The little fellow laid in his mother's embrace and looked at his parents' actions with his big eyes filled with curiosity. The two of them returned to Leisure Bar, and woke up Qing Yutong, who was sleeping soundly. Going back to Leisure Bar by plane was a bit slow, so it was better to directly return to Leisure Bar. Aya, my little nephew, let Aunt hug you. You're so handsome. Qing Yutong carried Yi Yen into her bosom, and the little fellow was a little unhappy, because this aunt of his keeps pinching his face. So Yi Yen reached out to his mother and squeaked. Little guy, you're not even willing to let your aunt hug you. Be careful that you don't get a girlfriend in the future. When Yi Yen saw how fierce his aunt was, he immediately burst into tears. Qingya took a glare at her little sister, then hugged onto her son and coaxed him. Yi Hua, who was at the side, said gravely, "What are boys crying for? If I see you cry again, I'll lock you up." Yi Yen immediately stopped crying, but he did not dare to look at his father. I have only been out for a day, and I don't even have the right to cry anymore. She felt that her father was super nice to her sister, but he was extremely fierce to her. It was as if she was a gift for topping up her phone. Yi Hua, it hasn't even been 2 days since Yenner arrived. Can't you speak properly? Qingya was trying her best to protect her son, not letting Yi Hua bully her son. The little fellow needs to be educated since he was young. That doesn't mean that he should be taught like this. Can't he be a little more patient? Qingya persuaded, hoping that Yi Hua would not be so fierce towards his son. Yi Hua was angry towards his son. After all, the main culprit that scared Yi Hua quite badly that night was this little fellow. Qing Yutong did not say anything at the side. It is better for me to not interrupt this kind of topic. Arriving at the door of his father-in-law's house, Yi Hua was empty-handed. He did not bring anything with him. I, the Supreme Overlord, have already given enough face by coming here, and you still want to bring things? I, the Supreme Overlord, have never brought anything with me. A few gift boxes could be seen appearing in Qing Ya's hands. Yi Hua, take them. Qing Yutong, who was at the side, said, Brother-in-law, just take them and put them in, just put them in. Yi Hua felt that he was going to go crazy. Baiji is still the best. She doesn't even have any elders. Taking a deep breath, Yi Hua said gravely, just this once. All right, just this once. Qing Ya spoiled Yi Hua. If it was any other woman, they would have already gotten angry at him. Holding on to the gift boxes with both hands, Qing Yutong pressed on the doorbell. The one who came out to open the door was still Uncle Fu. The two misses have returned, Mr. is also back. Is this the young master? When Uncle Fu saw Yi Yan, he cried out in surprise. Qing Ya laughed, Uncle Fu, Happy New Year, this is my son, Yi Yan. It really is the young master, quickly come in, the madams will definitely be very happy. Because Qing Ya was carrying the child, Qing Yutong prepared slippers for brother-in-law. This scene made Uncle Fu recall the scene from that day. Just that, he became the second miss. How can this man be so awesome? Yi Hua, who was holding on to the gift boxes, followed behind, appearing a bit unnatural. Walking into the living room, Qing Huaxian saw that his two daughters had returned, and he was happy in his heart. However, when he saw Yi Hua, who was at the back, that happy expression of his immediately collapsed. Seeing Qing Huaxuan's attitude, Yi Hua did not pay attention to him. This is? Zihan suddenly stood up and looked at the child who was in her daughter's embrace. With a smile on her face, Qing Ya said, Mom, this is my son, Yi Yan. Aya, quickly let Mom take a look. You already gave birth to the child, why didn't you give us a call? Zihan carefully took over Yi Yan. However, not long later, Yi Yan started crying loudly. That heart-wrenching cry was as if he was going to die soon. Wang Muqing, who was at the side, took over Yi Yan and tried, but who knew that it was also useless. In the end, Wang Muqing still handed Yi Yan over to Qing Ya. Just when Yi Yan entered Qing Ya's embrace, he instantly stopped crying. Yi Hua looked at his son's gaze and praised. Brat, you did well. Seeing his father's praising gaze, the corner of the little fellow's mouth curved up. Then, he hid in his mother's embrace and refused to come out, because his mother's embrace was too warm. Qing Huaxian looked at the gift box in Yi Hua's hand and was also filled with disdain. My Qing family is no longer the same as before. Right now, I am also a reputable person in Zijin City. Back then when I went to see the Empress, everything that I did after that was smooth sailing. As for Qing Ya, her change was really too big. No one knew that she was Qing Huaxuan's daughter, and furthermore, both father and daughter did not appear in public at the same time, so no one knew at all. If other people were to know that Qing Ya's father was Qing Huaxian, that would really be terrible. Qing Huaxuan's vanity would definitely go berserk. Chapter 571. Yi Hua sit. Qing Ya said softly. Seeing that her husband's expression was not very good, she reckoned that it was because of her father. Her father did not know of Yi Hua's identity and thought that he was just a bar's boss. It was unavoidable for him to look down on Yi Hua. After all, I am too perfect, I am so beautiful, and I am also so rich, sigh. Beauty is also a kind of sin. If not for giving face to his wife and sister-in-law, just by looking at Qing Huaxuan's expression, Yi Hua would have already turned around and left. When have I, the Supreme Overlord, been looked down upon like this? Which one of them wasn't trembling in fear under my feet? Slowly sitting down, Yi Hua still did not say a word. This caused Qing Huaxian and the others to be very unhappy. At least greet him. From the moment he walked in, he did not speak. How can this be? Could it be that you are waiting for the elders to greet you? Qing Huaxian must let this man know that Qing family is very powerful right now. Xiao Yi, are you still running a bar? Qing Huaxian leaned on the comfortable sofa and asked curiously. Xiao Yi? Yi Hua was immediately stupefied. Qing Ya and Qing Yutong were also extremely shocked. A supreme overlord was actually called Xiao Yi by an ordinary person. This is something that has never happened before. Right now, Yi Hua felt as if he was going to explode. If not for Qing Ya's father, this person would have already disappeared by now. To actually be so rude to me. Xiao Yi. Yi Hua was so angry that he almost suffered an internal injury. Qing Ya, who was at the side, secretly held onto Yi Hua's hand. Don't be angry. Father didn't do it on purpose. With his wife's consolation, Yi Hua felt a bit better. Seeing that Yi Hua's expression was very bad, Qing Huaxian was very satisfied. Compared to my Qing family, that little bar of yours is really nothing. I can make you close down in just a few minutes. Xiao Yi, business is not good these days. How much money can a bar earn? If you really can't do it, you can go and help out at Qing Ya's company. Qing Huaxian said very seriously. Now that I already have a child, there is no other way. Although this man is a bit lacking, if I teach him properly, he will still have a future. Luckily, Qing Huaxian did not say such words. If not, Yi Hua would definitely explode. However, it is more or less the same now. To actually say that I can earn a bit of money, and even want me to go and work at my wife's company. Dad, it is quite good for Yi Hua to open a bar. There is no need for that. Qing Ya hurriedly mediated the situation and told her dad to stop talking about it. If not, Yi Hua would definitely quarrel with her. But how could Qing Huaxian understand his daughter's meaning? Furthermore, seeing how his daughter was defending a man like this, he became even angrier. Xiao Yi, life is not that easy. There are a lot of things that young people like you two simply do not understand. This world is also not as simple as the two of you think. After finished speaking, Qing Huaxian actually displayed the sitting posture of a big shot. Why does Yi Hua feel that this sitting posture is very similar to mine? When Qing Yutong heard what her father said, she had a hard time enduring it. Father is actually acting cool in front of brother-in-law. Ha ha ha. It was too funny. Qing Ya also had a helpless look on her face. What should I do now? My father is actually getting complacent. Suddenly, an idea came to Qing Ya's mind. As long as I coax Yi Hua, everything will be fine. Thus, Qing Ya secretly sent a message to Yi Hua. What? Yi Hua asked coldly. Hubby, don't be angry. My dad didn't do it on purpose. Qing Ya pleaded. Yi Hua snorted. If it was on purpose, I, the Supreme Overlord, would have flipped out long ago. Hubby, don't be angry. I will properly serve you tonight. What else could Qing Ya do? She could only give Yi Hua what he wanted the most. As expected, after hearing Qing Ya's promise, Yi Hua's anger dissipated by quite a bit. Any position is fine? As long as you don't get angry, it's up to you. All right, you are the one who said it. I said it. Qing Ya was helpless. However, it is fine as long as I coax my husband. Ever since Dong Huang Baiji announced that she was pregnant, Yi Hua had been living a simple life, which was too horrible to look at. Right now, Qing Ya took the initiative to woo him, causing Yi Hua's mood to become very good. The gaze that Yi Hua looked at Qing Huaxian with also became a lot friendlier, seemingly saying, your daughter is not bad, to be able to serve me very comfortably. Is there anything else that I don't know? Yi Hua began asking along with Qing Huaxian's words. To act cool in front of me. Only you are still alive. Qing Huaxian laughed, seemingly laughing at Yi Hua's ignorance. However, the current Yi Hua didn't care about it. He just wished for this night to arrive faster. I have endured for more than a month, and I am already about to explode. There are some things that are useless even if I tell you. I am afraid of scaring you youngsters. Qing Yutong finally couldn't take it anymore and laughed out loud while hugging onto her stomach. Dad, can you not be so funny? Don't you know that boasting in front of the Supreme Overlord is very embarrassing? Qing Ya also laughed out loud. It's fine if my husband likes to act cool, but now, even my father has fallen in love with him. I hope that my son doesn't have to study and just become a scientist in the future. Wang Muqing patted onto her daughter petulantly. Yutong, what are you laughing at when your father is talking to you? Nothing much. I just thought of a very funny thing and couldn't help but laugh. While speaking, Qing Yutong laughed even louder. However, in Qing Huaxuan's eyes, Qing Yutong's smile looked as if Qing Yutong did not believe in him, and Qing Yutong felt as if he was lying to them. Yi Hua said faintly, I have never been scared before, why don't you tell me if you are able to scare me or not? Alright. Then, I shall let you youngsters gain some experience. Qing Huashuan's eyebrows straightened as he shouted out solemnly. This caused Qing Yutong to laugh to the point that she couldn't breathe. Yutong, you are too impolite. Wang Muqing lectured her own daughter. Qing Yutong finally couldn't hold it in anymore and was prepared to listen to how her father was going to scare people. Qing Huaxian glared at his daughter, then said gravely, in this world, there is a group of people who know magic, formidable right? The kind that can fly to the sky and dive into the earth, hee. Looking at Qing Huashuan's serious look, Yi Hua and the others were a bit surprised. Such a small matter, and it was turned into a big matter by your expression. Not bad. Qing Huaxian was very satisfied with this expression. It seems like my words had already subdued these youngsters. Just this north of mine, there are a lot of powers that exist. My Qing family can also be considered as a mainstay. This time, even Qingya started laughing out loud. Seeing that her big sister couldn't hold it in anymore, Qing Yutong also started laughing out loud. Dad is too good at acting. When did Qing family become a mainstay? You must be lying to a child, this is too exaggerated, right? Right now, Qing family can basically not be counted as a family at all, because Qing Huaxian doesn't know anything, thus, he can't be selected. Looking at the attitude of his two daughters, Qing Huaxian was very angry and said gravely, do you guys know? I am the strongest person that I have ever seen in the north. Empress. Do you know what is an empress? She controls the entire north's powers, and with a single sentence, she is able to change a person's fate. What do you youngsters know? Ha 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 ha. Asking for tickets. Chapter 572. Qingya and Qing Yutong were about to cramp up from laughing. Even Yi Hua had a trace of a smile on his face. This Qingya's father is too funny. It seems that the last time when Baiji came over for the big meeting, because she met Qing Yutong like this, her entire person became inflated to the sky. Indeed, ever since Qing Huaxian met the Empress, he went around flaunting his glorious history, and the Empress especially gave him face. The people who were at the scene back then also felt a little bit, and adding on to Qing Huashuan's words, they had no choice but to believe him. Thus, their attitude towards Qing Huaxian changed 180 degrees. What are you laughing at? I still have evidence here. Qing Huaxian said gravely. This youngster actually doesn't believe me. Evidence? Yi Hua and the others went into a daze for a moment. They were very curious about what evidence it was. Dad, let me take a look at the Empress that you are talking about. Qing Yutong asked, but her smile became even wider. Dad has changed. Qing Huaxian took out his phone and found a photo. Look, this is a photo of me and the Empress. A photo? Yi Hua and Qingya were very surprised. I don't remember taking a photo with the Empress that day. Could it be that the photo was taken privately? Donghuang Baiji doesn't seem to have mentioned it before, right? Qing Yutong took the photo over, and Yi Hua and Qingya looked over as well. In the photo, Donghuang Baiji could be seen standing leisurely, and Qing Huaxian was respectfully standing at the side. However, if one were to take a closer look, the Donghuang Baiji in the photo looked a bit strange, as if the photo was photoshopped. Qingya felt very helpless. My dad actually used this kind of photo to bluff me. In actuality, Qing Huaxian wasn't bluffing, he just felt that it was very glorious for him to have met the Empress, and thus he asked someone to Photoshop a photo to prove that he was someone who had met the Empress before. Yeah, look at you, if you have even half of her elegance, your father will be at ease. Qing Huaxian sighed lightly. My daughter's appearance is on par with the Empress, but in terms of temperament, she is a bit inferior. After hearing that, Yi Hua immediately laughed. Well said. Qingya, did you hear that? Learn more from the Empress. Yi Hua patted on Qingya's shoulder and teased. Speaking of aura, Donghuang Baiji was indeed a notch higher than Qingya. Back then, the two women had also displayed their aura in front of Yi Hua. Donghuang Baiji's aura was very big, while Qingya's aura did not have that kind of aura. Qingya was that kind of gentle and beautiful type. Even if she had a straight face, it would not have that kind of strong effect. On the other hand, Donghuang Baiji was different. When Donghuang Baiji put on a straight face, she looked very scary. However, when Donghuang Baiji smiled, Donghuang Baiji seemed like a completely different person. Yi Hua had even secretly asked the Empress to put on a straight face, and then, it felt really good. Qingya glared at Yi Hua petulantly. I have been using this matter to tease myself quite a bit. Yi Hua's attitude made Qing Huaxian a bit unhappy. I am teaching my daughter. What are you interrupting for? Little Yi, you have to change too. Yi is so outstanding. You have to become even more outstanding. Qingya felt great in her heart. This is what a father should be like. Yi Hua, did you hear that? You have to become even more outstanding. Qingya launched a counterattack, causing Yi Hua to be very displeased. Am I not outstanding? In this entire world, I am unable to find another man who is as outstanding as me. Yi Hua did not say anything. I'll just quietly listen to you two bragging. I, the Supreme Overlord, am not going to bother with you two today. Qing Huaxian let out a light sigh. Actually, it's also good if it's a bit more ordinary. It's better for us to not get involved in that kind of world too much. The competition is too serious, and I'm afraid that if I were to say it out, I'm afraid that I would scare you all. Yi Hua and the others did not say anything. All right, it's better for me to tell you too so that you two can be a bit more vigilant. Qing Huaxian was unable to contain himself. Do you think that if you don't say anything, I won't scare you too? Don't be so childish, all right? I heard that during this period of time, both the North and the South are not safe, especially the North where a lot of people have died. You two have to pay attention. Don't get dragged into the matter. Qing Huaxian suddenly thought of something and asked gravely, Qingya Yutong, how did the two of you get dragged into the matter of those big shots? Last time, the Empress even asked me about this matter. The two of you better explain it to me clearly. Just what exactly happened that night? This matter had been bothering Qing Huaxian for a long time. Luckily, the Empress did not pursue the matter that night. Although it was a bit strange, it was also a good thing. If the Empress were to pursue the matter, Qing family would be in trouble. In actuality, it was useless to ask about it now. Yi Xiao was already dead, and his son and the medical saint were still standing at the side of the small road like a tree. Qing Yutong explained, Dad, that night, that medical saint's song brought us to participate in the auction, but in the end, he ran away by himself, causing Big Sister and I to be very embarrassed. He is truly shameless. And then, did you see anything else? Qing Huaxian questioned. Qing Yutong was a movie empress. Her acting skills were top-notch. Qing Yutong shook her head hesitantly. Qing Huaxian felt that it was true. My two daughters are so obedient, they don't even dare to kill a chicken, so why would they go and kill a person? This is too unreal. And this man, I reckon that he doesn't even dare to hold a knife, he is so weak. After finish asking this question, Zihan also began asking. You two have already given birth to your child, and you two have also gotten your marriage certificate. When do you two plan to hold the wedding? Wedding. If not for her mother mentioning it, Qingya would have almost forgotten that Yi Hua still owed her a wedding. Yi Hua had also completely forgotten about it. I indeed still owe Qingya a wedding. Qingya hugged onto her son and said a bit angrily, Ask him. Everyone looked towards Yi Hua. This Qingya, she is definitely angry with me again. In actuality, Yi Hua wanted to give them an unprecedented wedding, and not this kind of ordinary and completely meaningless wedding. Right now, not only do I have to give Qingya's family an explanation, I also have to give Qingya an explanation. Rest assured, there will definitely be a wedding. Everyone nodded their heads. A man should take responsibility. After hearing that, Qingya was also very happy. As long as Yi Hua promised, he would definitely fulfill his promise in the future. Although it was no longer just a single person's wedding, Qingya was already relieved. For such a powerful man like Yi Hua, it was normal for him to have two women, but it was impossible for him to have one more. Following that, everyone chatted about their daily lives, and Yi Hua's attitude seemed to have been accepted. And what else could they do even if they didn't accept it? However, everyone's muzzle turned towards Qing Yutong. Yutong, your big sister already has a child now. When do you plan to settle your personal problem? As Qing Yutong's mother, Wang Muqing was also very anxious. However, Qing Yutong had an indifferent attitude and even said, It's fine, brother-in-law will help me look for one, he already promised me. In her heart, she was thinking, my but is already brother-in-law's, who else am I going to look for? In this lifetime, I will just hug brother-in-law's thigh and not let go. Qing Huaxian had to dispel this idea of his daughters. What kind of people can the bar boss know? All of them are just some unimportant people. Chapter 573. No, I'm not going to go on a blind date. I'm going upstairs to sleep, bye-bye. After finished speaking, Qing Yutong ran upstairs. Wang Muqing let out a light sigh, feeling very helpless. Yeah, properly persuade your sister. Don't always be like this. In a few years' time, she will be in her 30s at that time. No one will want her anymore. Zihan said gravely. Qingya laughed lightly. With Yutong's looks, are you afraid that you won't be able to find her? Yihua, don't you think so? And that's right. Yihua nodded his head, feeling that there was a hidden meaning behind Qingya's words. Everyone helplessly shook their heads. Regarding Qing Yutong's personal problems, they were also having a headache. Our daughter is so beautiful. What if other people covet her beauty? Thinking about it, I really don't feel at ease. At 9 p.m., Yihua and Qingya returned to the room. Qingya was carrying her son with her back facing Yihua and was currently feeding the child. Yihua took out a red packet, opened it and counted it. This family is quite generous. I quite like them. This is the first time I have seen a check inside a red packet. Interesting, as expected of a rich family. Just as Yihua was sighing with emotion, a small hand instantly snatched over the check. They are quite generous. They even gave you a big red packet. Qingya looked at the red packet with a smile and even blinked her beautiful eyes at Yihua. The little fellow, Yi Yan, had eaten his fill and was sleeping peacefully. Yihua's brows wrinkled. What are you doing? Give it to me, this is mine. Humph, I'm not giving it to you. This man will become bad when he has money. Qingya mercilessly took away the check, not giving Yihua any private money. Yihua also mercilessly hugged onto Qingya's body. Where did you hear such crooked logic from? What? Only you are allowed to have crooked logic, but I am not allowed to have crooked logic. Qingya said, her tone carried a hint of acting coquettishly, causing Yihua's heart to thump. This Qingya is truly becoming more and more enchanting. Every single action of hers is emitting out a different kind of charm. Today you promised me all kinds of positions. Yihua said lightly. He was already unable to hold himself back anymore. Qingya's face turned red. Our son is still asleep next time. Hee. I will not allow you to do it again. Yihua sneered, then carried Qingya and disappeared from the room, arriving at the bedroom on the second floor. Qingya hurriedly said, our son is still on the bed. Don't worry about him. No one can hurt our son. After saying that, she kissed him, appearing very greedy. It had been a very long time since Qingya and Yihua had gotten intimate with each other. The fire within the two's heart was instantly ignited, and the two of them fell onto the big bed, crazily enjoying the pleasure within. Only when it was 3 a.m. in the morning did the two of them return back to Qing family. Qingya was completely exhausted, to the point that she didn't even want to move her fingers. Yihua was still clearly very excited, and he was completely unable to fall asleep. Furthermore, he even had the feeling of wanting to continue. It was a pity that Qingya's battle power was not good enough. Should he seek out the Empress to resolve this matter? However, after thinking about it, he decided not to. It was already too late. Even if he went, the Empress would not allow it. It was impossible to communicate with a pregnant woman. Leaning on the bed, Yihua looked at his wife and son, and he was very satisfied with the current situation. If it wasn't for the fact that I have yet to take revenge, it would be good for me to continue living like this. Gradually, Yihua sunk into contemplation. Last year a lot of things happened, and the people in the cultivation world also suffered heavy losses. Of course, this was not my fault. It was all because of them killing each other, or maybe they were just asking for it. I just slightly provoked them, that's all. However, no matter what, I am still able to see the big picture, and it will be helpful for my future battles. However, here comes the problem. After losing so many cultivators, where am I going to go to make up for the lack of cultivators? With less people, the game doesn't seem to be fun anymore. The power of the entire cultivation world has fallen too much, and this is something that I didn't expect. How am I going to pull up the number of cultivators? This is a problem. Furthermore, that Justice and Order Alliance or whatever, I reckon that they want to form their own faction. I, the Supreme Overlord, should grant them a wish. How am I going to increase the number of cultivators? Yihua's brain quickly pondered. Earth's spiritual energy has dried up, causing ordinary people to be unable to sense it at all, and the powerful cultivators were able to absorb the meager amount of spiritual energy, causing the state of lacking spiritual energy. If I am able to envelop the entire world with spiritual energy, then a large number of cultivators will appear. Yihua felt that this idea was not bad. Cultivating is to strengthen one's body, and one's lifespan will also increase. Humans, you all should really be thankful for my benevolent heart. A trace of a smile appeared on the corner of Yihua's mouth. He had already decided on what to do. Yihua left a mirror image on the bed to prevent it from being discovered by Qing Ye. Some things still have to be done secretly. I, the Supreme Overlord, never leave my name behind when doing good deeds, and even if I leave my name behind, it would only be a bad name. Right now, Yihua had arrived 10,000 meters above the ground and was looking down at the entire world. As long as Yihua willed it, Sunfall Heavenly Fire would be able to turn the entire world into a sea of flames. Yihua's hands could be seen condensing a huge amount of spiritual pressure, and the entire sky seemed to be trembling. At this moment, a lot of people felt that a terrifying amount of spiritual energy was slowly condensing, and some of them even thought that it was the end of the world. Because a spiritual pressure like this wasn't something that a human would be able to withstand. Yihua laughed lightly. You all should really be thankful to me. I am the one who granted you all longevity and health. Of course, there is also death and despair. It all depends on how you all choose. Spiritual energy shall awaken. Along with Yihua's hands clenching, the huge amount of spiritual pressure in his hands exploded, forming a lump of white spiritual energy that enveloped the entire world. After doing all that, Yihua disappeared from the sky. Hugging onto his wife and son, he went to sleep. I am really curious about how the world will be like tomorrow. I am really so excited. However, right now, it was raining heavily outside, and of course there was also the boundless spiritual energy that was lingering in the air. That dense spiritual energy was currently changing their physique. Even if they don't cultivate, their lifespan would still be doubled, and their immune system would also be very strong. Thus, it was impossible for them to catch a cold. Of course, to the cultivation world, all of this could be counted as good, but overall speaking it was still not good. To them, this amount of spiritual energy was already enough. No matter how much spiritual energy they were given, it would be useless. The more spiritual energy is, the more precious it is. This logic was known to everyone. Right now, with how abundant spiritual energy was, wouldn't it mean that everyone would be able to cultivate? If that was the case, where would the status of the cultivation world be? For a special existence to return back to its ordinary state, wasn't this just asking for people's lives? Indeed, this move of Yihua's made the people in the cultivation world very vexed. Even the most ordinary cultivator would be respected and worshipped by others, but right now, that was something that couldn't be any more normal. Who would still worship him? However, to the powerful cultivators, this was still a good thing, because more people would respect them, and they wouldn't have to follow the rules set by the big shots, and they would be able to openly walk on the streets of the city. In just one night, Yihua had once again disrupted the situation in the cultivation world. Chapter 574. Winner. Jingshan had long walked out of his room and was currently looking at the sky with his brows tightly knitted. Why did spiritual energy suddenly recover? How did this happen? Also, what's with that huge spiritual pressure? Could it be a supreme overlord? If it really is a supreme overlord, then isn't this too powerful? To be able to cause spiritual energy to recover with just a raise of his hand, this is terrifying. However, whether this spiritual energy recovery is a good thing or a bad thing, Jingshan doesn't know, but he has a feeling that it isn't a good thing. Meanwhile, in Voidless Realm, Donghuang Baiji was also startled awake by that terrifying spiritual pressure, and even though there was a barrier, she could still feel it. This spiritual energy recovery is too strange and too sudden. There are no signs at all, and who is the one who released that terrifying spiritual pressure? Is it a human or the heavens? Donghuang Baiji immediately thought of her husband. Could it be Yihua? It can't be. Is he that powerful? Tomorrow, I will ask Qing Ye and find out. However, regarding this spiritual energy recovery, Donghuang Baiji also didn't know how to deal with it, because the situation changed too quickly, and she didn't even have the time to prepare. Within Wang family's villa in Harbor City, the people from Justice Alliance also felt it. So powerful. Is this the doing of a human, or something else? Wang Debao looked at the sky and muttered. Feng Tian also revealed a shocked expression. That spiritual pressure just now caused me to be unable to breathe, and it exploded in an instant, causing boundless spiritual energy to fall along with the rain. Just what is going on? God supporting heaven looked at the sky and didn't say a word. With regards to the current situation, I feel that this should be a good thing. Chen Xuanzong said faintly. With the spiritual energy recovery, a large number of cultivators will appear, and when that time comes, will there still be a lack of people? Bai Cixin felt that it was the same. Strength can only be displayed when there are more people. God supporting heaven let out a light sigh. The spiritual energy recovery this time messed up all of my plans. Is this man-made or is it a random variable? God supporting heaven can't be sure. From the looks of it, Yi Hua won the first round of brainpower competition and completely messed up God supporting heaven's plan. Since the spiritual energy has recovered, then let us follow the will of the heavens and thoroughly spread the influence of Justice Alliance. Gather all the heroes in the world. Qing Tian shouted as his confidence returned. Everyone couldn't help but nod their heads. God supporting heaven's expression gradually calmed down, and he asked curiously, will Matewan deliver on the second night of the new year? Everyone. Within Long and City's winery, currently, Jiu Yi wasn't asleep at all. On the contrary, he was excitedly standing under the heavy rain, and his expression was a bit strange. He looked like he was nervous, but also seemed like he was excited. After a long time, Lord Jiu finally calmed down. He raised his head slightly and looked towards the sky. God, you finally opened your eyes. Is this the smell of spiritual qi? I, Lord Jiu, have finally made a comeback. Ha 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 ha. Lord Jiu ran madly under the torrential rain, as if he had gone mad. He arrived under a big tree, and Lord Jiu placed his palm on it. A burst of blue light scanned it. The ground beside them suddenly caved in, revealing a flight of stairs. A row of lights instantly lit up. Lord Jiu walked down the stairs. After walking for about 10 meters, Lord Jiu arrived at his own secret room and clapped his hands. The voice-activated lights were all turned on. If there was someone here, they would definitely be stunned by the things that Lord Jiu had collected. Lord Jiu had worked for various masters, and all the rewards he had received were all here. Lord Jiu had thought that he would never be able to use them in this lifetime, because some things needed to be powered by spiritual energy. Now that the spiritual energy had recovered and he had the strength, these treasures could finally be put to use. Lord Jiu could be seen admiring his treasures and casually picking up an ancient sword. Lord Jiu coldly snorted. Ancient godly item, I, Lord Jiu, have no interest in it. There were even fragments of ancient godly items, spiritual herbs, and so on placed at the side. These were all rewards given by Lord Jiu's previous masters. This also showed that Lord Jiu's previous masters were indeed valiant. They could casually give out such good things. This lord also chooses his masters. Do you think that anyone can be my master? You are thinking too much. In the deepest part of the Pacific Ocean, Qi Shuwen had transformed into a small golden dragon and was currently devouring all kinds of fishes. When will this end? I have a huge debt. Luckily, I obtained the longevity fruit, or else I would have suffered a huge loss. I originally wanted to get first place, but Xian Ba is really too valiant. Just as Qi Shuwen was lamenting, he suddenly felt a sense of danger coming from behind him. He immediately used Divine Dragon Tail Whip. The seawater suddenly boiled, and Qi Shuwen blankly stared at the strange creature in front of him. What the F***ck is this fish? Why does it have 2 heads and legs? Its body is actually so huge. Why have I never seen it before? Qi Shuwen was stunned. The unknown creature in front of him made Qi Shuwen dumbfounded. Following the system's feedback, this fish was very valuable. Swallowing it could be exchanged for a huge amount of dragon energy. However, this fish seemed to look down on Qi Shuwen, this small golden dragon, and actually swam over. How could Qi Shuwen let go of such a good opportunity? He hurriedly chased after it. Gradually, he disappeared into the darkness at the bottom of the sea. However, in less than half a minute, a small golden dragon could be seen frantically running away, followed by a group of the same kind of fish. When Qi Shuwen was running away, suddenly there was a loud noise, and a large piece of darkness enveloped Qi Shuwen. Qi Shuwen raised his head to look, and he was so scared that his scalp went numb. What the hell is this? A giant whale that was several hundred meters long appeared above their heads. It immediately opened its bloody mouth, revealing rows of gleaming silver teeth that caused people to shudder. In a single mouthful, he had eaten those strange fishes just now. Qi Shuwen's mind was already stupefied. Since when was a whale able to swim so deep into the water, and also so long and so huge? With a panicked expression, Qi Shuwen felt that he had to hurry back home. However, on the way home, Qi Shuwen saw a lot of strange creatures, and he was scared to the point of shivering. Have you ever seen a tank-sized crayfish before? Damn it, all of them have mutated. Xianba lived in Yongshan City, and right now, he was also blankly looking at the heavy rain. Teacher, just what is going on? Xianba asked blankly as he sensed the rich spiritual energy around him. Feng Lao said faintly, someone opened the door of spiritual energy. This person is so terrifying. Let's not go and provoke that person then. Xianba right now, the spiritual energy is abundant, train properly, the current situation is beneficial to us. Master, I understand, you can be at ease. All right, I will definitely train properly. Xianba nodded his head. This is my chance, the god bestowed me with such a strong spiritual energy. It is all for me to rise up. At this very moment, all kinds of caves appeared in the remote mountainous area. The low roar of monsters rang out in the dark forest, and the wild tiger's body instantly became huge, becoming even more bloodthirsty. Chapter 575. This was the revival of spirit energy. Humans were improving, and so were all the animals. On the Pacific Ocean, a luxurious cruise ship was sailing in the darkness. The light it emitted was very unique, like a candle in the dark. In the cockpit, a few crew members were checking the data to make sure it was safe. The cabin door was suddenly pushed open, and a foreigner in pajamas walked in. Captain! 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 The captain, who was wearing a thick cotton jacket, glanced around. Is everything safe? Report, everything is safe. The captain nodded and felt relieved. This was his last voyage. After this he would retire. He couldn't afford to make any mistakes. Beep, beep, beep. At this time the radar suddenly sounded, which surprised everyone. There shouldn't be anything else in this area of the sea. Could it be another ship? The crew immediately checked, and when they saw what was displayed on the radar, they were dumbfounded. What's wrong? The captain asked. The frequency of the radar warning grew faster and faster, as if they were about to collide. The captain panicked and hurriedly ran over, pushing his crew aside. He placed his hands on the radar and focused his gaze. His pupils immediately dilated. Leida's shadow indicated that a huge monster was rapidly approaching. What is this? The captain exclaimed. All the crew members were at a loss. Just as everyone was panicking, the ship shook violently. The huge creature was at the bottom of the ship. The captain hurriedly ran out and stood on the deck. Then, they could see that the sea was boiling, and they could vaguely see a giant creature swimming. God, what is this thing? The old captain was so scared that he broke out in cold sweat, and his face was filled with horror. Captain! Oh no, the cabin is flooded. The captain frowned and walked in again, shouting, "Close the gate! Call for help!" Yes. The captain looked at the dark sea again. At this time, the sea was calm, as if it had never appeared. On the morning of the third day of Chinese New Year, the sun was bright and beautiful, and the warm sunlight shone into the bedroom through the window. Qingye could be seen snuggling into Yihua's embrace, and the little fellow Yi Yan was actually crawling onto his father's chest, and saliva was even flowing out from the corner of his mouth. Why are you still sleeping? Something happened. Dong Huang Baiji's figure suddenly appeared beside the bed. Yihua slowly opened his eyes and saw his son, as well as the saliva at the corner of his son's mouth. My God, why is he the same as his mother, loves to drool? Qingye moaned a few times, then opened her beautiful eyes. Baiji, you came so early in the morning? Yi Yan also opened his eyes at this time. Seeing his father's fierce gaze, he was so frightened that he threw himself into his mother's arms. Look at this saliva, it is all inherited from you. Yihua pointed at the saliva on the pajamas and said helplessly. Qingye snorted. He is still your son. The hell? Are the two of you even listening to what I'm saying? Dong Huang Baiji was very speechless. Why are the two of you still discussing about saliva now? Qingye sat up and asked, what happened? Just take a look outside and you will understand. Dong Huang Baiji said. While yawning, Qingye carried her son and opened the window. After that, he went into a daze, and he even rubbed his eyes as if he had seen a ghost. What a big bird! Qingye muttered. A giant magpie was flying in the sky, like a Boeing 747 flying at low altitude. Yihua stood at the side and looked at the magpie. F***K. Is the revival of spiritual energy able to cause a bird to become so big? What kind of situation is this? Qingye was very puzzled and completely didn't know what to say. I can't be dreaming, right? Dong Huang Baiji held onto her forehead. Yihua, Qingye, don't the two of you feel anything? Wah! The spiritual energy has become a lot denser. Yihua cried out in surprise. As expected of someone who won the Best Male Lead Award. However, it has been a long time since I acted in a movie, so I'm a bit exaggerated. Qingye also felt it and cried out in surprise. This spiritual energy. That's right. The spiritual energy has revived. After finished speaking, Dong Huang Baiji looked towards Yihua, seemingly asking if he was the one who did the revival of spiritual energy. Yihua said indifferently, I was having sex with Qingye last night, you can ask her. Qingye didn't feel embarrassed. Yihua was with me the entire time last night. After hearing what Yihua said, Dong Huang Baiji felt a bit embarrassed and cast an apologetic gaze towards her husband. After all, the strength that Yihua displayed on Cerulean Planet was too strong, and Dong Huang Baiji could only think of this point. Yihua turned his head and looked towards the magpie that was in the sky. Suddenly, the magpie took a poop, and the poop actually covered the car that was in the middle of driving. The corner of Yihua's mouth twitched. Luckily, I didn't say that I was the one who did it. This kind of consequence is out of my imagination. I will go back and deal with it first. Everything is in a mess. After finished speaking, Dong Huang Baiji left the bedroom. Meanwhile, Yihua and Qingye just stood beside the window and looked at the magpie taking a poop. It was just like dropping a bomb, too scary. At this moment, Qing Yutong rushed into the bedroom. Brother-in-law, big sister, something big happened. Quickly come and look at the news. Yihua and Qingye walked downstairs, and Qingye's entire family could be seen watching the news with a shocked expression on their faces. For example, the tiger in the zoo turned into a terrifying giant beast. Although the monkey didn't become bigger, its speed was extremely fast, and the supermarket was already occupied by the monkey. The cruise ship was opened by an unknown creature, but fortunately, there were no casualties. Some people were able to push a car, and some people were able to destroy an ATM machine with a single punch. In any case, everything was in a mess. This is an unexpected thing. I definitely didn't expect that it would become like this. This is too exaggerated. I wonder if I can take back the spiritual energy, but I reckon that I won't be able to. Setting a fire is easy, but putting it out is hard. Everything is in a mess. This is a financial crisis. We are going to go bankrupt. Qing Huaxian held onto his forehead and let out a long sigh. Qingye said in a low voice, Yihua, I have to go and help Baiji. I will leave my son to you to take care of him for a few days. Yutong, you come with me as well. After finished speaking, Qingye handed Yi Yan over to Yihua, then pulled his little sister upstairs and hurriedly rushed towards Voidless Realm. Before Yi Yan could even react, he had already arrived in his father's embrace. Does Mom not want me anymore? Mom threw me into an abyss of suffering. Scared to the point that Yan peed in his pants. Yihua's expression stiffened, and he felt a warm current flowing through his body. My son actually peed in his pants. Damn it! Yi Yan looked at his father embarrassedly. Your dad, you scared Yener to the point that he peed in his pants, don't blame me. Just as Yihua was preparing to go and change his clothes, a piece of news caught his attention. News from our station just a while ago, a group of people who call themselves the Justice Alliance stood out and used their powerful strength to help the people get rid of the scourge. At the same time, the same group of people appeared in various places, and they called themselves cultivators. Chapter 576. The TV screen just happened to switch to Wang Debao's face, who was killing a huge rat. With a swoosh, blood splattered everywhere. The camera was blurred, and he couldn't help but feel disgusted. A hand wiped the lens, and Wang Debao grinned. "Welcome to the Righteous Alliance. We are a team that protects the safety of the world. We will go wherever there is danger." Bang! Before he could finish, he was snatched away by an eagle. "Wife, save me." However, it was not just the Righteous Alliance. Many other people took this opportunity to recruit experts and maintain law and order. After all, they were all intelligent people. How could they give up on such a good opportunity? Qing Huaxian, who was originally frustrated, suddenly cried out in surprise, "Seems like our company is going to change its line of work." Yi Hua carried his son and went upstairs to change his clothes. "I feel that it is better for Voidless Realm to not get involved in this kind of matter. Even if Voidless Realm were to get involved in this matter, it wouldn't be of much use to them. This is a large-scale disaster, and it isn't something that a few thousand people from Voidless Realm would be able to solve." After putting on the diapers for his son and helping his son to put on his clothes, Yi Hua, the nanny father, finally let out a breath of relief. After that, Yi Hua began changing his clothes. Yi Yan sat on the bed and looked at his father with his big eyes. He didn't seem so fierce. It seemed like he wasn't a gift from someone who topped up his phone. After tying his son to his chest, Yi Hua prepared to go to Voidless Realm to take a look and give them some practical suggestions. In the desert outside of Voidless Realm, there was a huge poisonous scorpion that was crawling slowly, and there was also a huge cobra that was crawling on the ground. Inside Voidless Realm, Dong Huang Baiji was currently discussing with Qingya about countermeasures. Qing Yutong's playful expression changed, and she gave the most sincere suggestion. At this moment, Yi Hua also appeared at the side. When the three women saw the way Yi Hua was dressed, the corners of their mouths twitched. Wasn't he a super nanny? When Qingya saw that her son stopped crying after being together with Yi Hua, she felt much more at ease. "You all don't need to discuss anymore. A lot of cultivators have already stood out to resist, and it won't be long before the crisis is resolved," Yi Hua said faintly. The little guy, Yi Yan, sucked on his finger and watched curiously without making a fuss. Dong Huang Baiji said gravely, "Even if the crisis within the city is resolved, what are we going to do about the crisis outside? For example, the animals within the desert have all evolved into spiritual beings." Yi Hua revealed an expression that said, "You are all idiots. This is the law of nature. Do you intend to eliminate all dangers? Just you three women and the several thousand people from Voidless Realm? Dream on." Yi Hua ruthlessly struck down on her. "I don't know what this woman is thinking about." Yi Hua's words dealt a huge blow to the three women. After pausing for a moment, Yi Hua said again, "The revival of spiritual energy this time is a test for people. It also shows that we have entered a new era, and people have to adapt to the new era. It is the same for you guys. You guys are really stupid." Yi Yan, who was in his arms, nodded. There was nothing wrong with his father's words. When Qingya saw that her son was actually able to nod his head, she immediately felt that the situation wasn't good. "I have only taught my son to Yi Hua for around 10 minutes, and my son is already being led astray. What are you doing? I will be taking care of the child for the next few days and nurture our relationship." Yi Hua refused to give the child to Qingya. This caused Qingya to become anxious, as if her husband was going to snatch the child away from her. "Yi Hua, I still need someone to feed me milk." Qingya was fighting over Yi Hua, and Dong Huang Baiji and Qing Yutong were shaking their heads. "I can feed them too," Yi Hua said gravely. "Wow, brother-in-law, you still have this kind of ability?" Qing Yutong cried out in surprise. Qingya, who was standing at the side, bit onto her lips and had a look of, "If you don't give me my son, I will cry," on her face. "You all continue with the meeting. I will bring my son out to play." After finished speaking, Yi Hua left. Qingya stomped her feet in anger. Dong Huang Baiji laughed lightly. "Qingya, don't be angry. Do you think that Yi Hua will be able to steal your son away?" "That's right, brother-in-law even knows how to feed. I am really curious how brother-in-law feeds his son." Qing Yutong began filling in the blanks in her mind. "Let us continue to discuss about our future plans." Dong Huang Baiji retracted her smile and said solemnly. Qingya and Qing Yutong also became serious. "We cannot be careless with this matter." Meanwhile, Yihua also gathered all of his subordinates at Leisure Bar and began the first meeting of the new year. The location of the meeting had already changed from Leisure Bar's toilet to Leisure Bar's main hall. This caused Wei Chong and Lai Gu to let out a sigh of relief. Subordinate pays respect to your honor. Little honor. Everyone bowed down respectfully and shouted out loudly. Yi Yan, who was in Yi Hua's embrace, blinked his big eyes. Looking at his father's subordinates, Yi Yan's heart was filled with curiosity. Everyone, get up. Yi Hua said faintly. Thank you, Your Honor. Yi Hua took out a stick of cigarette, paused for a moment, then took it back. My son is still here. Smoking doesn't seem to be too good. Sitting on the high chair, Yi Hua said faintly. You all should know about today's matter, right? All of Yi Hua's subordinates nodded their heads. Yesterday night, I felt that His Honor definitely has a new plan. In the new year, there must be a new atmosphere. I, the Supreme Overlord, have given out spiritual energy as a red packet for the world. Your Honor's great fortune. This will be a good fortune for mankind. All of Yi Hua's subordinates shouted out in unison once again, seemingly as if they had already thought of their lines beforehand. Yi Hua nodded his head, and Yi Yan, who was in Yi Hua's embrace, nodded his head as well. Just that, Yi Hua didn't see it. Tell me, what is your goal for this year? It's over. His Honor is going to start the test. Lai Gu and Yi Zizi immediately shut up. If I don't participate in this kind of test, I will be scolded if I don't speak well. Seeing that all of Yi Hua's subordinates were not speaking, Yi Hua had no choice but to call out names. Yi Zizi, tell me what I, the Supreme Overlord, am going to do in the future. Ah, Yi Zizi cried out in surprise. What are you doing, Your Honor? You know that I am very lazy. I am not suitable to answer questions. Wata! Tell me. Yi Hua shouted out lightly. Yi Zizi puffed out her cheeks and said gloomily, His Honor wants to unify the world. Everyone. Isn't it just a matter of time for His Honor to unify the world? As expected, I shouldn't have asked Yi Zizi. Looking at His Honor's disappointed gaze, Yi Zizi lowered her head in grievance. It's not like I'm good at answering questions. Wei Chong, tell me what you think. Yi Hua said faintly. I feel that after the new year, all of my subordinates are stupefied. Wei Chong paused for a moment, then took a step forward and said respectfully, His Honor wants to use the same old trick again. Am I, the Supreme Overlord, such a senseless person? Would I use the same trick again after using it once? Yi Hua's brows wrinkled. He was very dissatisfied. All of Yi Hua's subordinates sensed His Honor's dissatisfaction and began to become nervous. Zhu Tian felt that it was time for him to tell His Honor. However, Brett hastened his pace as he bowed down and said, His Honor's goal should be Justice Alliance. Brett is smarter than all of you, at the very least. He is able to point out the root of the problem. Yi Hua said gravely. All of Yi Hua's subordinates lowered their heads and remained silent as they listened to His Honor's lecture. I didn't expect that the first meeting of the new year would be like this. Chapter 577. Yi Hua continued, Last year, the number of people in the cultivation world decreased greatly, and this time around, I wanted to replenish some fresh blood. Just that, I didn't expect that when I was replenishing some fresh blood, such a situation would still occur. However, right now the situation is under control. What is worthy for me to be happy about is that there are people who are planning to use this opportunity to form their own faction. Justice and Order Alliance can be counted as the earliest to form their own faction, and right now, there are even more factions that are forming their own faction. All of these factions do not place Voidless Realm and Ing family in their eyes anymore. Speaking up to here, Yi Hua paused for a moment, then looked towards his subordinates. Yi Zizi raised her hand and answered, His Honor wants us to kill those people? Yi Hua slapped the air in annoyance. Yi Zizi held onto her head and felt extremely wronged. I want to see how they fight. Wei Chong. Ask the Ing family to distribute the ancient godly items. Remember, every ancient godly item is divided into 3 fragments and slowly guide them. Understand? Yes. Wei Chong respectfully accepted the order. Brett, there's no need to keep an eye on the Righteous Alliance. If I know everything, it'll be boring. Yes. Brett lowered his head and accepted the order. Yi Hua stood up and emphasized once again, Remember, we are law-abiding citizens, and we will never kill people. The subordinate's lips curled up into a sinister smile. Your honor, subordinates will remember. The subordinates shouted out in unison. Brett, stay here. Everyone else, disperse. Yes. Before leaving, Ju Tian took a look at his honor. Could it be that his honor is planning to persuade Brett again? His honor is simply too good to me, and I can only repay his honor's kindness by sacrificing my life. Sit. Yi Hua said faintly. This subordinate doesn't dare. Brett's expression didn't change in the slightest as he replied respectfully. Yi Hua didn't insist and said lightly, What do you intend to do next? We await your next command. Brett said in a low voice. What are you going to do while you wait? Brett said nothing. Actually, you should find someone to accompany you. Look at them, they already have their other half. After hearing what Ju Tian said, Brett's expression finally changed, and he said gravely, Your honor, I will never forgive Ju Tian. When did I say that I would let you and Ju Tian fight? Yi Hua laughed lightly. Brett slightly raised his head. Your honor? I have found a husband for you. In a few days, you should meet him first and then get married. Brett was shocked by his honor's words, and he hurriedly said, Your honor, isn't this a little too hasty? Hasty? Or are you going to disobey my orders? Yi Hua's expression sunk, and he emitted out ice-cold killing intent. Brett hurriedly knelt on the ground with a terrified expression. This subordinate deserves to die. All right, you can go now. I'll inform you to go on a blind date. Remember, I'm not asking for your permission. Subordinate will listen to your honor's arrangements. Brett felt that his honor didn't seem to be joking, thus, he could only agree to it. Yi Hua waved his hand, and Brett bowed and retreated a few steps. After that, Brett disappeared from the hall. Pinching onto his son's cheeks, Yi Hua let out a breath. Every time I see Brett sitting at the side by himself and separated from the group, I will feel unhappy. This time, he also planned to suppress Brett, but where should he go to find the male lead? What a problem. Yaya, Yi Yen suddenly shouted. Yi Hua carried on to his son, and the father and son pair looked at each other deeply. After a while Yi Hua asked, Hungry? The little fellow nodded his head. Yi Hua had no choice but to send the little fellow to Voidless Realm first. Just now, I wanted to feed my son spicy gluten, but unfortunately, I don't have any teeth. Seems like I have to learn how to make milk. 1 month passed by in the blink of an eye, and Yi Yen was now 1 month old. The little fellow was a bit mischievous now, and he had already learned how to walk when he was around 10 days old. Big sister Dong Huangli had been playing with little brother in Voidless Realm every day, causing a lot of chaos. Qingya and Dong Huang Baiji were having a headache. In the beginning, everyone only felt that the two little princes were mischievous, but after a while, the two princes weren't just mischievous at all, they were simply the kings of destruction. Right now, the two siblings were currently standing in front of their mother with their heads lowered. The two siblings' faces were dirty, and it was clear that they had just done something bad. There were even chicken feathers on Yi Yan's head. Qingya and Dong Huang Baiji looked at their children with a stern expression. Yi Hua sat at the side and drank his tea leisurely. The two siblings would send a distress signal to him from time to time. Daddy, save me. In the past, Yi Yen would often shout for Mommy to save me, but right now, it had completely changed. Mommy is the real culprit, and Daddy is the warmest. Ali! What's going on with you? Bringing your little brother to cause trouble. Dong Huang Baiji started lecturing. Dong Huangli lowered her head and looked at her toes. Qingya reprimanded, Yen, how did Mommy teach you? You are already 1 month old, yet you are still so immature. Yi Hua almost sprayed out the tea that he was drinking. Isn't the demand a bit too high? How can a child be mature after 1 month old? Yi Yen muttered in a low voice. You still dare to talk back to me? Qingya, who had a bad temper, immediately took out a feather duster. Seeing that his mother was going to fly into a rage, Yi Yen immediately pounced into his father's embrace. Daddy, Mommy is going to hit me again. Yi Hua placed down the teacup and said faintly, Qingya, your demand is too high, Yen is still so young. Yi Yen nodded his head. Mommy's demand is too high. She actually wants me to memorize poems, write poems, and other random things right now. I am only 1 month old. Other people's children are still sleeping in the cradle when they are 1 month old. Qingya snorted coldly. Yi Hua. Don't protect Yen. See if I don't beat him to death today. Dong Huangli couldn't help but laugh secretly, and her mother just happened to see her laughing. Ali! You are still laughing. Dong Huang Baiji could be seen taking out a feather duster. Dong Huangli imitated her little brother and pounced into her father's embrace. Daddy, Mommy is going to use domestic violence. You too, enough. How can there be mothers like you two, hitting children for no reason? Yi Hua's expression turned cold. Even I can't bear to hit the two of them. Qingya snorted, then shook the feather duster. Tonight. Yi Hua let out a cold laugh. To actually use this kind of thing to threaten me. Do you two think that I will compromise? Ali, Yen, will the two of you listen to Daddy's words? Yi Hua asked seriously, as if he was going to bring the two little fellows away from home. Dong Huangli and Yi Yen nodded their heads vigorously. All right then, listen to Daddy's words and just hit Mommy a few times. Dong Huangli, Yi Yen, while holding onto the feather duster, Qingya and Dong Huang Baiji walked over with a strange smile on their faces, scaring the two little fellows to the point that they started trembling. Little brother runs fast. Dong Huangli pulled onto her little brother and ran out. Chapter 578. You two, don't be so strict. Children at this age should naturally play around. Yi Hua persuaded carefully. In the past, you two even said that you two are the same. Qingya laughed. You can't be like this. Children need to be educated from a young age. Look at Yen. He has been making noise everywhere. And Ali has been led astray by Yen. Dong Huangli doted on her little brother quite a bit. And sometimes, she even helped her little brother to take the blame. It's really good to have this kind of elder sister. It's normal for a boy to be a bit naughty. Yi Hua sighed lightly. If Yen was like a girl and didn't make noise, Yi Hua wouldn't like it. Dong Huang Baiji nodded her head. What Yi Hua said is right, don't be too strict. You too. Qingya snorted, then sat down and drank her tea. Let's talk about proper business recently. That Justice Alliance has been in the limelight. Dong Huang Baiji sat beside Yi Hua and poured herself a cup of tea. Dong Huang Baiji was a bit irritated. This Justice Alliance had recruited quite a lot of people in this 1 month, and they had even obtained the Good Citizen Award. They had been killing spirit creatures everywhere, restoring order to all the big cities. The problem was, a lot of families had withdrawn from the management of the big powers, some joined the Justice Alliance, and some even established their own families. In short, they did not want to be managed by the big powers anymore. However, Voidless Realm and Ing family both remained silent, giving people a kind of misconception, as if they were tacitly agreeing to this situation, causing even more families to withdraw from the big powers. Other than Justice Alliance, another organization called Peace Association emerged, and they could be counted as the two most snobbish and powerful organizations right now. They didn't differentiate between North and South, and they would go wherever there was trouble. Voidless Realm and Ing family seemed to have faded out of people's sight. In the past, people didn't even mention these two big powers, and right now, newcomers didn't even know that these two big powers existed. Furthermore, in this short 1 month, more and more regulations were introduced one after another. It couldn't be helped, they had to adapt to the new environment. For young people, such a world was too exciting. It was just like a fantasy world in a novel. They could practice powerful martial arts and fly in the sky. They could destroy the world with a wave of their hands and feet. They could be a peerless hero or a devil incarnate. Some businessmen were also looking for business opportunities. They opened various academies and hired experts from the cultivation world to be teachers. The whole world was slowly moving towards a new height, and the benefits still outweighed the disadvantages. The corresponding ranking system would also be introduced in a month's time. The entire world would be unified to prevent chaos. The stars, moons, and suns were used to determine the levels of strength. The 5 stars were upgraded to the moon and the 5 moons were upgraded to the sun. It was simple and easy to understand. However, one shouldn't underestimate this power level. This was the result that all the experts came up with. Right now, there weren't any Sun-class elites in the world, and there were very few Sun-class elites in March or April. Wang Debao and Bai Cixin were only 2 moons and 4 stars. Feng Tian was a 4 moons expert and could be considered an influential figure. Qing Tian had also been tested and was also a 4 moons expert. However, Feng Tian and the others did not believe that Qing Tian was deliberately suppressing his strength. With 4 moons imprinted on his chest, he would be respected when he walked out. Now, people would look at his chest first and not at his money. Because, no matter how much money one had, one would still have to kneel down and lick a powerful cultivator. Furthermore, people nowadays like to form parties to fight monsters. After all, the bodies of those animals were all treasures that could be made into spiritual artifacts. There were even some people who found some caves that were guarded by powerful demons. It felt like they were fighting a dungeon, just that, there was only one chance to fight a dungeon like this, and if one was slightly careless, one would lose their life. Those who didn't have a bit of strength could only watch from the sidelines, not daring to move. Meanwhile, the desert outside of Voidless Realm was already classified as a forbidden area. There were too many ferocious beasts in that place, and if one were to come here, one would basically die. Furthermore, the sea was rather dangerous as well. Without a few powerful figures guarding the sea, no one would dare to go out to sea. I really don't know what you two are worried about. What does the strength of the Justice and Order Alliance have to do with us? You two just have to do your own part. Why are you two still caring about other people's opinion? Yihua couldn't understand the two women. After all, Donghuang Baiji had been an empress for so long, and right now, she was worried about personal gains and losses. In the past, she controlled the entire north, but now? Since other people don't even give a damn about them, how could they possibly feel comfortable? Furthermore, other powers were gradually becoming bigger and bigger, and they had obtained everyone's acknowledgement, causing Qing Ya and Donghuang Baiji to feel sullen. In other words, he was unhappy and displeased. Hearing Yihua's words, Qing Ya and Donghuang Baiji became like a deflated balloon and became dispirited. You two, in the past you two didn't fight for anything, and now that someone else is fighting for something, you two are acting like this. Hee women. Yihua teased his two wives to his heart's content, expressing that he was feeling very good. Donghuang Baiji refuted, "It's all because you didn't allow it." What are you two women trying to do? Don't you know how to keep a low profile? Why don't you learn from me? As a mother, shouting about killing every day, what a scandal. This is the jealousy that comes from a woman. Even Qing Ya and Donghuang Baiji have this kind of bad habit. The two wives pouted and remained silent. Luckily, the little fellows weren't present. If not, their image would definitely be ruined if they saw their mother acting like this. Rest assured, Voidless Realm will forever be a big power. This is something that no one can change. They are just consoling themselves. Yihua said faintly, then walked out of the room. He wanted to let the two women calm down. Because there was going to be a big show today, and Yihua was going to join in the fun. Other than Zhu Tian, everyone knew about this. And that was Brett's blind date. It was today. Blind date. Gold Raider Colonel Dou Fusher. Wei Chong was truly unable to find a reliable person, and he only heard from Death Mage that there was such a person who was rather reliable. Actually, the Blood Demon had wanted to put on a show at the start and act as the matchmaker. What if the show turned out to be real? Brett was so beautiful, so sexy, so compatible with the Blood Demon. They were a perfect match. At the start, Yihua only had this choice, but the sudden appearance of Dou Fusher made Yihua change his view. After all, Dou Fusher was an outsider, and this was much better. Dou Fusher was also very surprised. Ever since he separated from his big brother and sister-in-law, Dou Fusher started doing his old profession of catching ghosts. As for digging up tombs, forget about it, those tombs are all for scamming children. Suddenly, Big Brother looked for me and said that I have a very important mission, and after I complete it, I can join the group? There's a power outage today. There's a power outage today. This is so depressing. Chapter 579. Hearing such news, Dou Fusher became very excited. He had wanted to join the group long ago, but he didn't have any contribution points. Now, the opportunity is right in front of me. As long as I complete the mission, I will be able to worship the big boss. Just thinking about it makes me excited. However, Dou Fusher suddenly felt that something was wrong. Why did he have to look for me? Big Brother is so powerful. Is there anything that he can't do? This mission is definitely going to be very dangerous. Dou Fusher felt that he had to give it his all. If he wins, he will join the group and worship the big boss. If he loses, he will cry. When he heard the mission, Dou Fusher was stupefied. I am actually asked to go on a blind date. Although I am just putting on an act, Dou Fusher is already very satisfied. This isn't even considered a mission at all. It's just a small mission. I can settle it in a few minutes. However, Dou Fusher still doesn't know who his blind date partner is. There is still Zhu Tian who is eyeing him covetously. In a coffee shop in Long'an City, Dou Fusher saw his blind date partner and was stupefied by the other party's appearance and aura. This is the blind date partner? Why does he look so good? I'm finished, my heart is beating so fast, I'm going to die. This appearance, this figure, this is too perfect. Meanwhile, Brett was also observing Dou Fusher, and her eyebrows were tightly knitted together. I don't understand why His Honor arranged such a weak man. He is 10,000 times worse than Zhu Tian. Look at him, he doesn't have any confidence at all. A man like him is actually blushing. If not for His Honor's order, he would have already left. However, Yi Hua and the others were standing not far away from Brett. Of course, this was not something that others could see, not even Brett noticed. After all, this was a spell cast by an overlord. If Brett was able to notice it, it meant that his strength had reached the pinnacle. His Honor, this arrangement of yours is too bad. He isn't worthy of Brett at all. Lai Gu muttered. Even if you want to put on a show, you should at least find a stronger one. Yi Hua said faintly, it is precisely because he is weak. Wei Chong nodded his head. He understood what His Honor meant. Zhu Tian is probably going to faint from anger. I didn't expect Brett to find such a weak person. His Honor is truly becoming more and more intelligent. Subordinates admire him greatly. Right now, not only does he have to look at the big picture, he also has to take care of the subordinates' private life. Did you send out any messages? Yi Hua asked indifferently. If the male lead is missing from this matter, then what is the point of playing with the hammer? Wei Chong said respectfully, Your Honor can be at ease. We have already leaked out a bit of information in the group. I believe that Zhu Tian should already know about it. That's good. Absolute heaven must not find out about this matter. This subordinate obeys. Everyone looked at the couple again. Dou Fusher lowered his head and took a sip of the coffee on the table before asking in a low voice, What do you usually do? Yi Hua and the others immediately face-bombed. Can't you King ask some questions that have technical content? Do you want me, the Supreme Overlord, to teach you how to go on a blind date? Brett almost couldn't help but slap him. He couldn't compare to absolute heaven at all. Murder, Brett said coldly. Puff. Dou Fusher couldn't hold it in, and a little bit of coffee flowed out of the corner of his mouth. This woman was too cold. She killed people at the slightest provocation. Couldn't she be a little more subtle? Like fighting and killing? Actually, I'm good at killing people too. Dou Fusher calmed himself down. His mission was to gain Brett's favor, but when he thought about how it was fake, he felt a little sad. What if Brett is really unable to extricate herself from falling in love with me? When the time comes, I would have to tell her that everything is fake. It would be too hurtful. After all, I, Dou Fusher, can be counted as an outstanding man. Back then, even my sister-in-law had thoughts about me. It's fortunate that I calmed myself down. If not, I would have let down my big brother. Brett sneered. How many did you kill? Can we not talk about this bloody topic and talk about Qi, and talk about the world instead? Not interested. Let's talk about food then. There is a newly opened hot pot restaurant that is especially good. How about we go there? Not interested. Then, what are you interested in? Murder. Dou Fusher. This is simply impossible to communicate with. We are not even on the same channel at all. Brett suddenly wrinkled her brows and said faintly, Come and sit over here. I told you to come over, so come over. Brett's beautiful eyes turned cold, scaring Dou Fusher to the point that he almost peed in his pants. Dou Fusher immediately sat beside Brett, and Brett lightly leaned onto Dou Fusher's shoulder. Just like that, Dou Fusher panicked. So fragrant. It's really fragrant. Is this the fragrance of a woman? That's not right. We were just talking about murder just a moment ago. Aren't you being too careless? After all, I, Do Fuchsia, am not a casual man. Suddenly, a man who wore a white suit walked into the coffee shop. The man's expression was frighteningly gloomy, and it seemed as if he would explode at any moment. The man who came was precisely Ju Tian. When he saw the contents of the WeChat group, he almost couldn't help but release his spiritual pressure. Brett actually went on a tryst. Which bastard dares to date my, Ju Tian's, woman? Is he tired of living? Bringing along his anger, Ju Tian directly rushed over. Furthermore, when he saw the cold and arrogant Brett leaning onto a man's shoulder, a trace of an arc actually appeared on the corner of Ju Tian's mouth. This arc is something that even Ju Tian himself has never seen before. Your Honor, will Ju Tian go berserk? Wei Chong asked in a low voice. Right now, Ju Tian is very unstable. Yi Hua shook his head. To be able to endure under such a situation, Ju Tian can be considered to be strong. Green Hat, just thinking about it makes me excited. Lai Gu said sneakily. Tang Wei, who was at the side, said tenderly, Brett only likes absolute heaven. This sentence was rather pertinent. Don't look at how stubborn Brett was right now. In truth, his heart was filled with absolute heaven. No matter what kind of person he was, he would compare himself to absolute heaven. It could be seen just how important absolute heaven was in Brett's heart. At this moment, when Do Fuchsia saw absolute heaven, he instantly felt hostility. Coupled with Brett's previous actions, this person was definitely absolute heaven's ex-boyfriend. Hehe. How could I, Do Fuchsia, be afraid of such a pretty boy? Floating Do did not know of absolute heaven's identity at all. If he had known, he would not have accepted this quest even if he was beaten to death. Absolute heaven walked over with a sullen expression on his face. He then sat down on the opposite side, his eyes fixed on the two of them. However, Do Fuchsia performed a shocking feat, causing Yi Hua and the others to go into a daze. What a good fellow! How daring! Do Fuchsia grabbed Brett's shoulder and shouted at absolute heaven. What are you looking at? Haven't you seen a beautiful woman and a handsome guy before? This brat is not bad, Your Honor. Where did you find this weirdo from? Lai Gu's heart was filled with admiration. Even I don't dare to speak to Ju Tian like this, and yet, this fellow is actually not afraid. Chapter 580. Yi Hua said faintly, Wei Chong was the one who found me. Lai Gu then asked Wei Chong, Where did you find him? Wei Chong said indifferently, It was Death Mage who found me. Lai Gu then looked towards Death Mage and asked, Brother, where did you find him? GGG, Imperial Translation. There is no longer any meaning to it, that brother has to live. On the other side, Do Fuchsia's eyes bulged as he displayed his most savage side, staring straight at absolute heaven. Why do I feel that this expression is a bit similar to the Lai Gu in the past? Wei Chong interrupted. Lai Gu was very confused and asked curiously, How is that possible? The days when you were a dog. Lai Gu. Not to mention, Do Fuchsia's ferocious appearance was very similar to that of an arrogant husky. I'm going to be terrified soon. Absolute heaven coldly stared at Do Fuchsia. He was prepared to kill this lowly ant in front of him. Even he was willing to accompany Brett on a blind date. He was overestimating himself. However, Do Fuchsia still did not know that absolute heaven was about to make a move. Do Fuchsia extended his chin forward, revealing a row of teeth as if he was about to bite someone. Brett said lightly, He was introduced by our boss. Try touching him if you dare. Ju Tian was startled. His Honor arranged this? How could this be? Isn't His Honor standing on my side? Boss saw that I was too lonely, so he arranged a man for me. Brett slowly hugged Do Fuchsia's arm and said in a sweet voice. Do Fuchsia's ferocious expression was a little strange, because within this ferocious expression, there was even a hint of shyness. This kind of expression had already caused Lai Gu to burst into laughter. This brother is really too funny. In the past, the Green and Red brothers were also very funny. Now that they have a girlfriend, they are much more mature. Sensing the fragrance around him, Do Fuchsia coldly snorted. Who are you? Can't you see we're on a date? Hurry up and get lost. Everyone, Wei Chong let out a sigh. Even if this matter is over, this world of solitude. To actually shout, scram in front of absolute heaven. Dou Fusher was so arrogant, and the source of his arrogance was Brett. With a beauty by his side, how could his aura be weak? What would he do if he was looked down upon? This man was handsome, but his nails were thicker than hers. Moreover, his attitude was very bad. It was obvious that he was here to snatch her away. If the person was snatched away, then wouldn't his mission be ruined? Then the matter of him joining the team would be gone. No. He had to become a hero. The blue veins on Ju Tian's forehead bulged. This man actually dared to publicly insult him, and even told him to scram. Absolute Heaven's entire body was in a terrible state. However, his rationality still prevailed, and he did not accidentally kill off Floating Dou. If Floating Battle Dou was really killed now, then he would have died in vain. When Dou Fusher thought about this matter in the future, he could not help but feel a chill run down his spine. It was as though he had taken a stroll through the gates of hell. Brett! What's the point of doing this? Absolute Heaven questioned coldly. Seeing Brett hugging another man, Absolute Heaven felt extremely displeased in his heart, and every hair on his body stood on end. Brett giggled, stretching out a slender finger and stroking Dou Fusher's face. He's much stronger than you. Seeing Brett's frivolous actions, Absolute Heaven fiercely slammed his palm on the table. How could the table withstand Absolute Heaven's slap? The surrounding people were quite frightened. Lai Gu rubbed his chin and said faintly, "This is the first time I've seen Absolute Heaven lose his temper." Wei Chong silently nodded his head. It seems like Brett had truly angered this cold cat. How is he stronger than me? Absolute Heaven questioned. His pair of eyes were about to pop out, and his handsome face was incomparably fierce. Brett's eyes slightly narrowed. He knows to protect me, what about you? Absolute Heaven's expression changed. He was unable to refute Brett's words. For so many years, he had never treated Brett well, and the words he spoke the most were rejection. Looking at Absolute Heaven's hesitant face, Brett suddenly felt a little sour in his heart, but he did not say anything. However, right now, Dou Fusher was about to say something. Did you see what the beauty said just now? She said that he knew to protect her, and her manliness was bursting. Dou Fusher once again performed a magnificent feat, shocking everyone present. Brat! Where are you from? Do you know who I am? Dou Fusher pushed Absolute Heaven, who was in a daze, onto the sofa and sat down. Elvie Liang, who was watching from the back, raised her thumb. This is a real man, wanting a beauty more than his life. Yi Hong felt that there was nothing wrong with Dou Fusher's fierce words. Meanwhile, Zishan and the others were dumbstruck and covered their mouths. Absolute Heaven was actually pushed down by Dou Fusher. He even dared to be so arrogant. Can't he be more low profile? Yi Hua felt that there was nothing wrong with Dou Fusher pushing down Absolute Heaven. This Absolute Heaven still needs a beating to wake him up. When Brett saw Absolute Heaven being pushed down by Dou Fusher, he felt great in his heart. Absolute Heaven, to think that you would have such a day. Fusher, let's go and get a room. Brett stood up while holding onto Dou Fusher's arm. He even said something like getting a room, wanting to anger Absolute Heaven to death. Dou Fusher felt that happiness came too suddenly. Didn't we agree to put on an act? Why did we end up getting a room right after putting on an act? Could it be that this is one of the benefits from the mission? Boss treats me too well. I worship him in my heart. I know of a hotel that has a pretty good waterbed. Dou Fusher revealed an evil smile. In Absolute Heaven's eyes, Dou Fusher was simply an unpardonable criminal. I'll listen to you, Brett said sweetly, as if she was allowing Dou Fusher to bully her. Dou Fusher actually hugged onto Brett's slender waist. This action of Dou Fusher's was rather worrying. Dou Fusher was afraid that Brett wouldn't be able to endure it and would end up King Dou Fusher. Fortunately, for the sake of Absolute Heaven, Brett didn't say anything and even maintained a smile on her face, and even called Dou Fusher sweetly. This caused Dou Fusher to feel extremely happy. This voice sounds so good. It's so coquettish that I can't stand it anymore. I wonder if it will be even better when we get to the hotel. Stop right there. Absolute Heaven shouted out coldly. The people in the coffee shop looked towards Dou Fusher's direction once again. There were even a few martial artists who had 1 star imprinted on their chests, curiously sizing up Dou Fusher and Dou Fusher. Dou Fusher stopped his footsteps, then said in a low voice, "This ex-boyfriend of yours is really hateful." "That's right. Can you help me hit him?" "I will let you feel better in a while," Brett said tenderly. Do Fuscher's expression immediately became excited. Just based on that last sentence, "I will climb a mountain of swords and dive into a sea of flames." Do Fuscher could be seen once again performing a shocking feat. This time, even Yi Hua was stupefied. Do Fuscher turned around and walked towards Absolute Heaven. When Absolute Heaven saw Do Fuscher walking towards Do Fuscher, Absolute Heaven was currently pondering whether or not he should disobey his honor's order and kill off this damned man. Bang! Just as Absolute Heaven was pondering, a punch actually landed onto his face. Chapter 581. The speed at which Fuscher punched out was not fast, as if he was a normal person. However, it was precisely because of this that his punch landed fiercely on Absolute Heaven's face. Bang bang. Absolute Heaven never thought that this man would really dare to hit him. Brett had also never expected that Absolute Heaven would actually not dodge. However, he still felt very satisfied in his heart. Well fought. Yi Hua and the others started to admire Zhu Tian. For you to be able to land a punch on Zhu Tian, it means that your courage has already passed the test. Yi Hua said to Wei Chong, "If Do Fuscher is still alive, after this matter is over, just take him in." This subordinate obeys. Wei Chong said respectfully. Lai Gu mumbled, "I haven't even slapped Zhu Tian's face before." Do Fuscher felt very good. He raised his fist and shouted, "Brat! Don't think that I won't hit you just because you're handsome. Even if your boss comes, I'm not afraid. Do you know who my boss is? He's known as the Jianghu's brother Zhen. I'm afraid you'll be scared to death if I tell you." "All right, ignore him. Let's go." Brett walked over and pulled Do Fuscher back. However, Absolute Heaven did not pay any attention to him. Instead, he pulled Brett into his embrace, cupped Brett's face with both hands, and kissed him. Do Fuscher was stunned. "You pretty boy. You actually dared to disrespect my blind date girl in front of me. Let's see if Papa doesn't beat you to death today." After saying so, Absolute Heaven raised his fist and punched towards Absolute Heaven. Unfortunately, someone was even faster than Floating Do. Brett sent Absolute Heaven flying with a single punch, and a large hole appeared in the roof. Do Fuscher stared at Brett in shock. "You're even more vicious than me. You've even sent someone flying." Yi Hua sighed. "This Zhu Tian's guts are not small, to directly kiss me just like that. Brett can already be considered to be good if he only punched me once." Those one-star martial artists weren't calm at all. They thought that it was just a fight between ordinary people, but they didn't expect it to be so powerful. One punch was enough to send someone flying into the sky. Brett wiped his lips, and his face turned slightly red. He cursed Absolute Heaven for being shameless in his heart. "He actually forcefully kissed me. Bastard!" Brimming with anger, Brett stomped on the ground, causing it to crack. Then, he shot out like a rocket. Seeing this, Do Fuscher also followed. "That damned man actually dared to take advantage of my blind date. Later, I'll let him see my own strength. I'm the famous gold raiding captain. Finding dragons and exploring caves is as easy as flipping my hand." These main characters had all changed locations, and Yi Hua and the others also followed along and changed locations. The good show had just begun. Absolute Heaven versus Brett. Brett, who had soared into the sky, stood in the void, coldly looking at Absolute Heaven. "Do you know what you were doing just now?" "I know, it feels really good." Absolute Heaven's lips were still stained with some lipstick, but at this moment, Absolute Heaven felt really good. Brett was even angrier and was ready to teach this damned man a lesson. "Stop." Floating World arrived late. Who asked them to fly so high? He had only managed to climb up after much difficulty. When Brett saw that Do Fuscher had arrived, his brows furrowed. "Brett, let me." After saying that, Do Fuscher took out his peachwood sword, bit his finger, and smeared his blood on the wooden sword. Instantly, a faint red light bloomed. "You pretty boy. To actually dare to bully my woman, don't you know whose underling I am? If you wait for my big brother to come, I'll tell you, you will be finished. It's too early for you to admit defeat now." Do Fuscher stood behind Brett, pointed his sword towards Absolute Heaven, and shouted out loudly. Looking at that serious look on Dou Fusher's face, he doesn't seem to be joking. Absolute heaven sighed in his heart. He somewhat understood his honor's meaning, but where did his honor find such a weirdo? She is my woman. Do you understand? Absolute heaven didn't want to talk too much with Dou Fusher. After all, Dou Fusher was the one who was called over by his honor. That punch I gave Brett just now can be considered as me letting Brett feel good. Dou Fusher shouted out coldly. What, your woman? Stop boasting shamelessly. If you still don't admit defeat, I'm going to call you Big Brother. My big brother's big brother is even more powerful. My big brother's big brother's big brother is unrivaled. It's not that I'm boasting, but I can kill you with just a flick of my finger. The corner of Yi Hua's mouth twitched. This Dou Fusher is really good at boasting. You can leave. Absolute heaven said faintly. Dou Fusher looked at Absolute heaven in disbelief. You are actually not afraid? Let me tell you, I am going to call my big brother over right now. After speaking, Dou Fusher really took out his phone and called Death Mage. However, Death Mage's phone was already switched off. Sorry, the number that you have dialed is currently switched off. Dou Fusher was a bit embarrassed. He took a look at Brett, then looked at Absolute Heaven, then said, Don't be anxious, my big brother is very busy, let me call a few more people. Death Mage, who was standing in the group, was speechless. Even I am going to call my big brother Absolute Heaven. And you are still calling me over. Don't you know that this will make things even more awkward? Little friend, you can go back now, there is nothing else for you to do here. Absolute Heaven said lightly. Dou Fusher was angered. To actually call me little friend, there is a beauty by my side. I cannot lose my face. Just you wait, I am going to call my sister-in-law, you are finished. The corner of Sun Fang's mouth twitched. Then she immediately took out her phone and switched off her phone. When the people at the side saw Sun Fang's action, they took a look at Dou Fusher, who was in the middle of the stage, and suddenly felt that Dou Fusher was very pitiful. Hello, the number that you have dialed is currently switched off. Dou Fusher's face darkened. Why did the two of them switch off their phones? They are the kings of the game. They don't even leave their phones. After a long while, Dou Fusher forced a smile and said, My big brother and sister-in-law are definitely busy with something. I will stand at the side and wait for a while. You will be in for a good show. This Dou Fusher was rather smart. After realizing that the other party was stronger than him, he immediately called his big brother. Because the other party was able to charge up to the cloud layer without even blushing, and even got punched by Brett, while I am about to fall down from the cloud layer after running up to the cloud layer. Dou Fusher's words made Yi Hua and the others look towards Death Mage and Sun Fang. That gaze of Dou Fusher seemed to be asking, How did you two handle things? Sun Fang's face immediately turned red. How did I handle things? This is completely Dou Fusher's own imagination. Brett, you don't have to be afraid. After my big brother and sister-in-law are done with their matters, they will come over. Dou Fusher turned his head around and said seriously, As a man, I should protect my woman properly. Brett said coldly, Stand at the side. Stand at the side. Don't you understand? Brett's beautiful eyes turned cold, scaring Dou Fusher to the point that he shivered. Why does this woman suddenly change? Just a moment ago, she was still treating me like that. And now, she is acting like this. Dou Fusher pitifully walked to the side, then looked at the two of them and felt extremely gloomy. How pitiful. Lai Gu mumbled. Although this is just a mission, this is still too much of a blow to me. However, Dou Fusher was able to endure this kind of blow. After taking a nap, I guarantee that everything will be fine. Brett, if I am able to defeat you, will you follow me? Zhu Tian shouted out. Humph. Say that after you defeat me. Chapter 582. Starting a fight just because of a disagreement, this truly makes one blush with shame. But right at that moment, another voice sounded out, Stop! The two people who were about to start a fight stopped. Yi Hua, who was standing at the side, wished that he could slap the person who shouted for them to stop to death. It isn't easy for me to watch my subordinates fight. What are you guys doing here? Not only Yi Hua felt disappointed, his subordinates felt the same as well. Half of their pants were taken off, And they actually came to inspect the room. Don't you think that this is infuriating? Only 2 moon rank experts could be seen. They rushed straight over with vigilance in their eyes. The 2 people stopped in the air at the side, and one of them shouted out, "We are from the Peace Association. Fighting is prohibited in the sky above the city." Peace Association? Yihua had only heard of it, but this is the first time I have come into contact with this group of people. I wonder who this big shot of the Peace Association is. Will he come and find trouble with me? Then I will have a reason to retaliate? Just thinking about it makes me a little happy. Zhu Tian and Brett looked at the people from the Peace Association coldly, and the latter immediately felt that his heart skipped a beat. These 2 people could be counted as people from the cultivation world previously. If not, they wouldn't have a moon. Just that, Longan City was in the south, and Zhu Tian had only appeared in the north, so they didn't recognize Zhu Tian at all. Fighting in the sky above the city without permission, you will be detained for 15 days. Follow us. One of the men was very arrogant. He didn't differentiate the strength of both sides at all. Dou Fusher shouted out, "It is all this man's fault, that beauty is innocent." "Don't speak, you come along as well." The corner of Dou Fusher's mouth slightly twitched. "You all are too indiscriminate. Who gave you all the right to do this?" "Who? You all don't have the qualifications to know. You all just need to know one thing. In the future, what the Peace Association says is the law. If anyone dares to resist, they will be killed without mercy." Yihua and the others were very surprised. I didn't expect this Peace Association to be so arrogant. They truly live up to their name. Look at those big shots from the Justice and Order Alliance. They are all very low profile. They can be dismissed with just pickled cabbage noodles. Brett snorted coldly. "What bullshit association? You all dare to shout in front of me." After finished speaking, she slapped the air. The man who didn't curse was sent flying. Judging from his height, he was at least out of the atmosphere. Why did I not say anything? And the one who slapped me was at me. Did you slap the wrong person? The man who scolded them was stunned. Who are these 2? They sent a moon-class elite flying with one slap. You all actually dare to murder a law enforcer. This is a death sentence. You all just wait. You all are finished. After finished speaking, the law enforcer turned around and ran, and he was the kind that didn't care about his life anymore. Brett snorted and a jade bow appeared in her hand. She pulled the bow and shot it. From the ground, it looked like a shooting star. Exceptionally beautiful. The man died in midair without any pain. Brett, who had insulted the 7 deadly sins, did not want to live anymore. Zhu Tian froze. He didn't dare to be careless, because that arrow had once again flown back. As one of the 7 deadly sins, absolute heaven knew of Bright's weakness. Bright was extremely afraid of getting into close combat. As long as Bright got into close combat, Bright's battle prowess would decrease by half. Just as Brett was about to let his guard down, absolute heaven displayed his abnormal speed and locked Brett in place with a retreating stance. Lai Gu exclaimed in admiration, "Your posture isn't bad." The girls at the side couldn't help but roll their eyes at Lai Gu. In Lai Gu's eyes, everything has a different meaning. When Dou Fusher saw this, he was stunned as well. He felt that he didn't have enough spirit chi. Beauty! Hold on, I will go and call Big Brother. After finished speaking, Dou Fusher helplessly descended from the sky. If not, he would have to freefall and fall from the sky. Zhu Tian tightly held on to Brett, and at this moment, Brett's weakness was revealed. The golden arrow was flying towards the 2 of them. Is Brett planning to perish together with Yihua? Yihua's expression became a bit grave, and the people at the back also became nervous. The relaxed atmosphere immediately became heavy. F***K. Have these 2 people gone mad? Lai Gu couldn't help but shout out. Yihua didn't say anything. Brett should be trying to scare Zhu Tian. Zhu Tian hugged onto Brett tightly and said beside Brett's ear, "If death can make you forgive me, I am willing." "Zhu Tian, even if you die, I will not forgive you," Brett shouted out, and the golden arrow immediately shone with a bright light. The golden arrow flew towards the 2 of them while emitting a terrifying aura. Yihua swallowed his saliva. What is this Zhu Tian planning to do? Right now, Yihua was considering whether he should make a move or not. If an accident were to occur, it would be hard to say what would happen. After all, Brett's jade bow was no joke. After charging up its power, It would be able to instantly kill an overlord. Seeing that the golden arrow was getting closer and closer to the two of them, Brett had already closed her beautiful eyes. My heart is tired. I am really tired. If I die like this, his honor won't force me to get married, and I will be able to make Ju Tian suffer for the rest of his life. Thinking about it, it is quite worth it. How could Ju Tian possibly let Brett die? He knew that Brett would definitely not stop until he got his revenge. Therefore, Ju Tian suddenly threw Brett, who was in his embrace, away. The golden arrow that carried along the aura of death pierced through Ju Tian's abdomen, and a fist-sized hole appeared on Ju Tian's abdomen. Yi Hua was stupefied. Everyone was stupefied. Brett was also stupefied. As one of the 7 deadly sins, even if it was an overlord's weapon, it would be hard for them to injure each other. Furthermore, Brett had charged up his power for this attack, and it wasn't as simple as just a stab. Absolute Heaven violently spat out a mouthful of blood. His entire body sank into darkness as he fell from the sky. Brett just stared blankly. It was as if he had been struck by lightning, and his head was buzzing. There was no longer any meaning in hiding. All of them revealed themselves. Yi Hua hurriedly stabilized Ju Tian, who was falling to the ground. The wound on Ju Tian's abdomen was extremely terrifying, and it was currently corroding Ju Tian's body. Without much time to think, Yi Hua immediately brought Ju Tian back to Leisure Bar. If Ju Tian doesn't receive treatment soon, he might die. When everyone returned to the Leisure Bar, none of them spoke a word. Brett was still in a dazed state as he foolishly looked at Absolute Heaven, who was on the table. Yi Hua took out all of the healing medicines, such as Clear Soul Condensing Pill, 6 Chi Returning Pill, Supreme Spirit Gathering Pill, Sky Bewitching Ganoderma Grass, and so on. Sui Han Buddha Chaos Pagoda. An exquisite pagoda could be seen appearing in Yi Hua's hand, and the pagoda slowly floated onto Ju Tian's body. The pagoda then emitted a Buddha's light that shone onto Ju Tian's body. Meanwhile, Ju Tian slowly changed back to his original form. A cat with strange fur laid powerlessly on the table. However, his chest was still moving up and down, causing everyone to let out a breath of relief. It's good that he didn't die. Your Honor, Ju Tian is here? Wei Chong asked respectfully. Thanks to my brothers for the tickets. Chapter 583. Yi Hua took a look at Brett, then said gravely, "This attack nearly took his life right now, we can only protect him. Maybe in a few hundred or even a few thousand years, they will be able to take human form." Everyone's eyes were filled with shock. They didn't expect it to be so serious. Brett fainted on the spot when he heard this. To be able to make Brett of the 7 deadly sins faint, what kind of blow was this? Yi Hua shook his head. I really didn't expect that Absolute Heaven would be willing to die to save Brett. Ju Tian's situation was different from Zishan and Yi Hong's situation, where Ju Tian only needed a strand of Wei Chang's black mist to be able to revive them. Ju Tian's strength was terrifying, and even Yi Hua could only temporarily preserve Ju Tian's life. If Ju Tian were to be injured a second time, even Yi Hua wouldn't be able to save Ju Tian. Yi Zizi suddenly came down from upstairs. She looked at Absolute Heaven, who was on the verge of death, before looking at Brett, who had fainted. Yi Zizi shook her head. She then carried Absolute Heaven in her arms and walked upstairs. This stupid cat was actually willing to die for a woman. It was really embarrassing. Yi Hua sat on the high chair and didn't say anything as he drank his wine. All of the subordinates did not dare to make a sound and just stood there obediently. As for Zishan and Tang Wei, both of them were supporting Brett, who had fainted. No one had expected such a thing to happen. Absolute Heaven was actually prepared to die. This was even more unimaginable. Especially for Wei Chong and Lai Gu. Absolute Heaven didn't seem like the kind of man who would die for love. In the past, he didn't even put women in his eyes. Only now did they realize that Absolute Heaven was just putting on an act. In fact, Absolute Heaven had long since had Brett in his heart. It was only because of his pride that he did not accept it. Now that he was almost gone, what was the point of keeping his face? If he had known this would happen, he wouldn't have acted in the first place. After a while, Brett faintly woke up. When he saw that Absolute Heaven had disappeared from the table, leaving behind only a pool of blood, he immediately started crying loudly. His heart-wrenching appearance made it seem as if his husband had just died. Enough! What are you crying for? You aren't dead yet. Yihua wrinkled his brows and shouted out coldly. It's fine to just scare me a little, but you actually got serious. Now you know regret. Your Honor, I'm sorry. Hearing that Zhu Tian was still alive, Brett calmed down quite a bit, and hurriedly apologized. What's the use of apologizing to me? Are you satisfied with absolute heaven's current state? I've already lowered my head to you, but you're still so stubborn. Yihua shouted out angrily. If it was according to Yihua's temper in the past, I would have given Brett a few slaps right now. Brett is too insensible. Brett powerlessly kneeled onto the ground, and one after another, tears fell onto the ground. Right now, I am already regretting. People only know how to cherish when they have lost something. When Yi Hong looked at Brett, she thought of herself and Zi Shan. It would be great if big brother Zhu Tian could be saved like me. But, Wei Chong, go and inform Zhu Tian's family. Yihua said gravely. After such a big matter happened, I still have to inform Zhu Tian's family. Yes. Wei Chong disappeared from Leisure Bar and brought Dongfang Yu'er and Guan Yanxin with him. The two still didn't know what was going on, and they respectfully knelt down and shouted out, "We pay our respects to your honor." Get up. Yihua said gravely. Dongfang Yu'er and Guan Yanxin stood up and realized that the atmosphere was not right. There were bloodstains on the table beside them and Brett was sobbing on the floor. Moreover, Absolute Heaven's figure was nowhere to be seen. A bad premonition lingered in the minds of the two women. Absolute Heaven is injured. He needs to rest here for a period of time. Yihua lit up a stick of cigarette and said gravely, I really don't know when Absolute Heaven will recover. Dongfang Yu'er and Guan Yanxin didn't dare to believe that Absolute Heaven would be injured. He is the subordinate of a supreme overlord. Who would be able to injure him? Unless... The two women looked towards Brett, who was sobbing on the floor. Your Honor, is Absolute Heaven still all right? Guan Yanxin's red lips trembled, and her beautiful face tensed up. His life is hanging by a thread. Yihua could only describe Absolute Heaven's situation like this. Hearing that, Guan Yanxin paused for a moment. My entire family was killed, and right now, even Absolute Heaven is about to die. Such a blow caused Guan Yanxin to immediately fall backwards. Dongfang Yu'er looked weak, but she didn't fall backwards like Guan Yanxin. Instead, she turned her head around and looked towards Brett. Everyone looked at the weak Dongfang Yu'er walking towards Brett. In the past, when Dongfang Yu'er saw Brett, she would appear to be afraid, but right now, Dongfang Yu'er didn't have any fear at all. Standing in front of Brett, Dongfang Yu'er raised her arm high up. Everyone didn't say anything. This time, Brett had indeed gone too far. This Dongfang Yu'er almost lost her man. Who would believe that she wasn't angry? However, Dongfang Yu'er's slap did not land on Yihua's face. Instead, tears flowed down from Dongfang Yu'er's face. Why are you so heartless? Absolute Heaven likes you so much, and yet, you still want to injure him. Why? Say something. Dongfang Yu'er shook Brett's shoulder, and a sense of desolation pervaded the air. Brett didn't reply and said in a low voice, I'm sorry. I didn't do it on purpose, I also didn't want this to happen. Hearing what Yihua said, Dongfang Yu'er sat on the floor paralyzed and cried bitterly. I already told you all that Absolute Heaven Overlord isn't dead yet. Are you crying for me? Yihua shouted out angrily and threw the cigarette butt onto the floor. Seeing that his honor was angry, everyone lowered their heads and didn't dare to say anything. In actuality, the one who was the most vexed was Yihua. He had planned this out of good intentions, yet, I didn't expect that one of my men would almost die. This is simply lifting a rock and smashing it on my own feet. In the future, I will never do such a wicked thing again. This is retribution. Suddenly, a ray of white light flashed across the bar, and Qingya and Donghuang Baiji appeared. Seeing her husband and subordinate standing together, a woman fainting, and two women sitting on the floor crying, Qingya and Donghuang Baiji looked very puzzled. Subordinates pay respect to the two madams. Everyone shouted out respectfully. Even Brett and Dongfang Yu'er shouted out while choking with sobs. This? What happened? Qingya walked over and asked. Yihua didn't expect that his wife would actually rush over and said faintly, "It's nothing, something happened to Ju Tian." Something happened to Ju Tian? Dong Huang Baiji became even more puzzled. Your subordinates are so formidable. How could something happen to them? Seeing how Brett and Dongfang Yue were crying so miserably, it seems like it isn't a small matter. Did he meet with a strong enemy? Qingya asked gravely. What strong enemy? It was all because of me. Wei Chong, speak. I don't want to speak anymore. Yihua was very gloomy. I lost a powerful general in such a short period of time. Don't you think that I am angry? Yes. Wei Chong responded, then said gravely. Today, His Honor arranged for Ju Tian and Brett to meet. Yihua. After hearing what Yihua said, Qingya and Donghuang Baiji more or less understood what was going on. Both of them looked towards their man at the same time. Aren't you worrying for nothing? After hearing what Yihua said, he felt even more so. Seeing the unkind gaze of his two wives, Yihua changed the topic and asked, Why did you two suddenly come over? Chapter 584. Ali and Yen are disappeared again? Yihua exclaimed. From this sentence, it could be seen that this wasn't the first time the two little fellows disappeared. When they had nothing to do, they would hide and let the adults worry about them. Right now, they couldn't do anything about it. If you scold them, they would cry, and the next day, they would continue playing hide and seek with you. However, Qingya and Donghuang Baiji weren't too worried right now. After all, Ali had displayed his strength in the past, and he was very strong. Even if he brought his little brother to play, it would be fine. In the beginning, Qingya was still very worried. After all, Yen was still so young. However, after that, she became speechless. Basically, she could only see her son at night, and he would disappear during the day. Ever since Dong Huangli had her little brother, it was the same. Dong Huang Baiji could only see her daughter at night, unless she locked the two little fellows up. She tried to lock the two little fellows up, but it was very quickly solved by them. She didn't know whether to laugh or cry. That's right, the sun is about to set, and he still hasn't returned. Qingya shook her head. My son is even more mischievous than I imagined. Yihua was very relieved. You two don't have to worry so much, he will come back sooner or later, nothing will happen. Qingya said, How old is he and he is already like this? What will happen in the future? That's right, Ali is the same now. Donghuang Baiji shook her head. In the past, Ali was so obedient and sensible, but now that he has a playmate, his mischievous personality came out. Yihua said gravely, Then I will lock them up next time. Don't, there will be shadows. And what else could Yihua do? These two women always do whatever they say. All right, you all can disperse first. Ju Tian will be fine after he recuperates. Brett, you will stay at Ju Tian's place for the next few days. Yihua arranged carefully. If Ju Tian isn't around, Dongfang family will be in a bit of danger. Letting Brett go over to Ju Tian's place was firstly to take care of him, and secondly to get along well with them. In the future, Ju Tian will be able to enjoy the bliss of having two wives. Just like Lai Gu 3. I only have two, and you two actually have one more than me. Your Honor, can I take a look at Ju Tian? Brett said pleadingly. Right now, Brett was no longer as cold and arrogant as before. What are you looking at? Isn't it messy enough? Ju Tian and Dongfang Yu? Brett didn't dare to go against Yihua's will, and Dongfang Yuan also didn't dare to go against Yihua's will. Everyone returned to their own positions, and Yihua drank the wine in his hand. Let's go. Let's go find those two little fellows. They're getting bolder and bolder. Yihua, you need to calm down, it's not like they did it on purpose. Qingya and Donghuang Baiji hurriedly held onto the man, fearing that Yihua would start beating the man up. Yihua turned his head around and asked gravely, Weren't you guys the one who wanted to go and look for him? Weren't you the ones who wanted to teach them a lesson? Were they going to look for it? Are you going to fight or not? Qingya hurriedly comforted her husband. The children are still young, they like to play outside, calm down. That's right, that's right. With Ali looking after the child, how could anything go wrong? Donghuang Baiji also joined in, fearing that Yi Hua would hit the child. Meanwhile, Yi Hua laughed in his heart. Ali, Yen, father can only help you to this point. Be at ease and have fun. Your mother won't come and look for you. In the desert in the north, two small figures were playing on a sand dune. They were precisely Dong Huangli and Yi Yen who had sneaked out. As for how they managed to sneak out, they naturally relied on Ali's teleportation. It came out with a bayou sound. Big sister, do you think that daddy will be able to stall mommy? Yi Yen was sitting on the skateboard, and Dong Huangli was standing behind him. Don't worry, daddy is formidable. We will be able to play more today. Dong Huangli said with a sweet smile, then rubbed onto her little brother's head. Yi Yen patted his chest. Moms are too scary. Sister is still the best. Quickly push Yen. Alright Yen, sit tight, I'll push you. Okay, Dong Huangli lightly pushed Yi Yen, and Yi Yen sat on the skateboard and slid down from the sand dune. Yi Yen was screaming, and he seemed to be having a great time. Sliding down, Yi Yen shouted, Sister, come down quickly. Alright. Dong Huangli waved her hand, then slid down from the sand dune. Looking at his sister's valiant demeanor, Yi Yen clapped his hands and shouted, Sister is so awesome. Dong Huangli patted on her butt. Of course, if not, how can I be your big sister? Haha, big sister. Let's go play with the big crab. Those aren't called crabs. Those are scorpions and rattlesnakes. Dong Huangli taught attentively. Yi Yen felt that his brain wasn't enough to understand what Dong Huangli was thinking. Yi Yen laughed foolishly. Big sister is still the best. Yen is unable to remember. Let big sister teach you then. Alright, Dong Huangli clapped her hands and shouted, Xiaoyi! Quickly come out! Along with Dong Huangli's shout, the ground started shaking. It seemed like there was a huge monster underneath the sand. A whirlpool could be seen suddenly appearing, and a huge monster suddenly jumped out from the sand pit. The huge monster had 2 rows of antennae. If one had trypophobia, one would definitely vomit upon seeing those antennae. Furthermore, those eyes of the centipede looked just like scales that were reflecting light. However, when the huge centipede saw the 2 little fellows, it seemed like it was trembling a bit. This story needs to be told from half a month ago. That day was sunny, and the centipede was basking in the sun. Suddenly, the centipede heard the conversation of humans on its back. Insignificant humans actually dare to ride on the centipede's back. They must be tired of living. 1 minute later, the centipede ran away in a hurry. This is simply too cruel, inhumane. This was just the beginning. In the past 10+ days, the centipede was played by the 2 siblings like a husky. Yi Yen even forced the centipede to bark like a dog, and he even demonstrated how to bark like a dog. Yen, this is a crab. Dong Huangli said proudly. Looking at the look of worship on her little brother's face, I feel great. Finally, there is someone who worships me. Xiao San, Xiao Si. Boom, boom, boom. The surface of the sand shook once again. A huge scorpion, a huge rattlesnake, and a lizard that looked just like Godzilla appeared. Although the 3 of them had ferocious looks on their faces, when they saw the even more ferocious pair of siblings, they didn't dare to move at all. Dong Huangli began teaching her little brother how to recognize animals. Even if Dong Huangli said something wrong, they still had to nod their heads. This is truly painful. Which family's brat is this? Hurry up and take him away. Don't come and bring harm to the world. Right now, the sky was gradually getting dark. At Ying family, which was located in the south. Ying Jingshan followed Death Mage's order and began releasing the first wave of ancient godly shards. This was a jade flute that belonged to He back then. This time, the jade flute was finally put to use. After splitting the jade flute into 3 pieces, Ying Jingshan coughed lightly and threw the 3 pieces into the sky. Then, a huge amount of spiritual energy shot out from his finger. The spiritual energy made the ancient godly shards shine brightly, then flew towards 3 different directions. Chapter 585. After doing all that, Ying Jingshan laughed lightly and returned to his Ying family, waiting for the good news to come. When the 3 white lights appeared in the dark night, they looked so unique and bright. When everyone saw the 3 white lights, Their eyes were filled with astonishment. When many cultivators saw this, they immediately chased after the 3 white lights. These are definitely treasures that fell from the sky. Among them, there was also Xiaofan, who joined the Peace Association. He had also left the jurisdiction of the big shots because it was too hard to stand out. There were more opportunities in a new place. Just like what Xiaofan thought, Xiaofan was recognized by the Peace Association and was now a middle-level manager. In the future, he might even become a high-level manager. In the Justice and Order Alliance, everyone saw it too, but they were not interested. Big Brother Qing, what is that? Wang Debao raised his head and asked curiously. Qing Tiandi licked the ice cream. It's probably a fragment of an ancient godly item. What? An ancient godly item needs to be broken into 3 pieces? Isn't this too weird? Feng Di couldn't help but ridicule. Right now, he really doesn't like this kind of weapon anymore. Feng Di leaned on the door and said faintly, "To us this isn't much, but to some newcomers, this is a treasure." In that case, the appearance of an ancient godly item's fragment will cause a commotion? Wang Debao muttered. Qing Tiandi held the ice cream in his mouth and poked it back and forth. "That's right, Chen Xuanzong, don't you want to take a look?" "Take a look at what?" Chen Xuanzong sat on a chair at the side and asked faintly. "Of course, I want to inquire about the situation and see how it develops so that we can plan our next step." Qing Tiandi licked his lips. "This ice cream is pretty good." Chen Xuanzong nodded his head and followed behind a white light. "Bai Cixin, how many people did we recruit recently?" Qing Tiandi asked faintly. All the big and small matters in the Justice and Order Alliance were managed by Bai Cixin. This greatly satisfied Bai Cixin's vanity, and she felt that she was no different from Voidless Realm's Empress. In terms of numbers, she even had the advantage. In the past week, we recruited 100,000 newcomers. Bai Cixin felt very good. Every day, she would sit on the main seat and enjoy everyone's worship. That kind of feeling was incomparable. On the other hand, Wang Debao was feeling great too. He could see his wife standing high above him and he could play with her every night. It was so exciting. Qing Tiandi laughed. "Right now, we are just waiting for an opportunity. When the time comes, we will be able to make a move against Voidless Realm." "What opportunity?" Bai Cixin also wanted to make a move against Voidless Realm, because Voidless Realm was the one who chased her out of the north and turned her into a stray dog. "I also don't know." Qing Tiandi spread out his hands. He really didn't know. Bai Cixin was speechless. She turned around and walked into the room. Wang Debao followed. "Time to sleep with my wife." At this moment, Dong Huangli and Yi Yan had already left the land of yellow sand and arrived at the nearest city. "Sister, I want to eat fries." Yi Yan rubbed his stomach and pulled his sister back, looking at the KFC beside them. Dong Huangli also licked her lips. "Speaking of which, it has been a long time since I last ate something like this." Moreover, he was hungry after playing for so long. But what could he do without money? "Little brother, let's go back and eat," Dong Huangli suggested. "The sky is already dark. If we still don't go back, my mother will get worried." Yi Yan was a little greedy. He bit his finger and said, "Sister, let's eat before we go back." But big sister doesn't have money. Dong Huangli felt helpless. As the daughter of a supreme overlord, she was actually put in a difficult position by money. Sure enough, like father like daughter, both of them lack money. Sniff, sniff, sniff big sister. Yi Yan held onto Dong Huangli's hand and shook it, acting extremely cute. Dong Huangli couldn't do anything about it. After all, she was the big sister. Ali could be seen pulling her little brother to the side, and when they reappeared, the 2 little beggars appeared. "Yan, later on you will be in charge of crying. I will be in charge of shouting." "Understood." Yi Yan nodded his head vigorously. "This is fun." After finished speaking, the 2 of them sat at the entrance of the KFC. The 2 little actors immediately started acting. "Wah!" Yi Yan cried out loudly. His loud and clear cry could be heard even from a few streets away. Dong Huangli shouted out loudly, "We are so pitiful, we have no parents since we were young, and we are all alone. My little brother is going to starve to death soon, he is so pitiful." If the 2 of them were to be seen by Yi Hua and the others, they would definitely be stupefied. Especially that sentence about them having no parents. It seems like the two of you just jumped out from a crack in a rock. Yi Yan's painful cries coupled with Ali's sweet shouts immediately attracted a lot of onlookers. Some people took out their phones to record the scene and uploaded it onto TikTok. What a pitiful pair of siblings. Seeing that the money in front of them was getting more and more, the two of them began to work harder and harder. This is simply a tragic world that we are living in. Thank you, kind-hearted person. I will bring my little brother to eat something first. He is going to starve to death soon. Dong Huangli hurriedly stuffed the money into her clothes, then pulled Yi Yan and walked into the KFC. Although the two of them were queuing up, there were still a lot of big brothers and big sisters who were filming the scene at the side, hoping that their accounts would become popular. When the time comes, they would have a lot of fans, and it wouldn't be a dream for them to become internet celebrities and earn money. The two of them didn't mind the scene and continued to queue up. However, the two of them weren't tall enough, and Dong Huangli could only carry her little brother on her shoulders. Even if Dong Huangli was able to carry her little brother on her shoulders, Yi Yan was only able to look at the counter with his eyes. Big sister, I want hamburgers, I want Coke, I want chicken wings, I want ice cream, I want fries, I want 2 servings of all of them. Yi Yan took the money that the big sister handed over to him and threw it onto the counter. I only have this much. Can you hurry up? Big sister and I are going to starve to death soon. The waitress was moved by Yi Yan's cuteness. The money that Yi Yan bought is definitely enough. And the waitress even returned quite a bit of the money. Not long later, all the delicious food was served, and the waitress even brought the food over. Yi Yan stood on the chair, while Dong Huangli sat on the chair. The two of them began stuffing food into their mouths, looking as if they hadn't eaten for tens of days. Seeing how pitiful the two of them were, a lot of kind-hearted people also bought some food and sent it over. The two of them thanked the waitress over and over again. 1 hour later, the two of them finally ate their fill and walked out of the KFC with big stomachs. Big sister, if Yan dies from eating too much, don't tell father and mother, it's so embarrassing. Yi Yan let out a breath. I'm so full. Dong Huangli was the same as well. It has been a long time since I last ate so much. Looking at the oil stain on the corner of her little brother's mouth, Dong Huangli stretched out her hand and wiped off the oil stain on the corner of her little brother's mouth. If that's the case, big sister will accompany Yan and die from eating too much. Big sister is the best. Yi Yan shouted out happily. If one were to say who Yi Yan liked the most, the number 1 would be big sister, the number 2 would be father, and the number 3 would be mother. If Qingye were to know the order in which her sons were ranked, she would definitely be angered to the point that she vomited blood. In order to give birth to you, I almost died, and in the end, I even had to rank mother 3rd. How sad, however, 3 white lights that suddenly appeared attracted the two of them's gaze. Chapter 586. So beautiful. Looking at the night sky, Yi Yan muttered. Dong Huangli was also captivated. That's right, it's so beautiful. There seems to be a lot of people following us. Do you see that, sister? Yi Yan hurriedly pulled his sister's hand as if he had discovered a new continent. Dong Huangli naturally saw it. Sister, let's go and have a look. Maybe it's something good. We can give it to mom and dad, and they will be happy. Once they are happy, they won't blame us for returning late. Yan is so smart. Quickly let big sister give you a kiss. After speaking, Dong Huangli smacked her lips onto Yi Yan's face, causing Yi Yan to be extremely happy. Big sister, quickly bring Yan and fly away, we are going to be gone soon. Okay Yan hold on tight to big sister, yes. After finished speaking, the two siblings disappeared from where they were, and their speed was so fast that it made people speechless. The people that were observing the two siblings rubbed their eyes. How did they suddenly disappear? Where did they go? Of course, it appeared next to white light. Wow! Is this a treasure? Yi Yan looked at the shining jade flute at the side and said, Take it. We're going to find something else. All right, Yi Yan's small hand grabbed onto the jade flute, and the white light disappeared. The people following behind were dumbfounded. Why did they suddenly disappear? Some even rubbed their eyes. However, a lot of people chased after the other ray of white light. However, just when they chased after the other ray of white light, the ray of white light disappeared as well. Everyone had stupefied expressions on their faces once again, and they didn't know what to do. Just what is going on? It disappeared just like that. Seeing the last ray of white light, everyone rushed over without any regard for their lives. Then, gone again. A few thousand people could be seen standing in the sky, looking left and right, and then, holy shit! You're from the Justice Alliance. Holy shit! They're from your peace association. A fight broke out at the slightest disagreement. Colorful rays of light shone in the air. It was very lively. In the small forest below, the two little fellows were looking at the treasures they had picked up. Sister, it's broken. It's definitely not something good. Yi Yan was very disappointed. After all, it turned out to be a broken one. He wanted to bring it back for his parents to be happy. Yan, don't be disappointed. Watch me. Dong Huangli could be seen neatly arranging the 3 sections of the jade flute, then condensed a strand of spiritual energy onto her small hand, then started moving the jade flute. Wow, big sister, it's starting to close up. Yi Yan clapped his hands excitedly. Big sister is still the best. Yan, can only look up to big sister. The 3 pieces of the jade flute closed with a loud bang, emitting an enormous pressure and green light. The people fighting above immediately stopped and looked at the small forest below. Yi Yan held the jade flute in his hand and looked at it curiously. He even knocked on the tree. Sister, this is a small green stick, it's not very useful. Yan, this is for you to brag about. Dong Huangli laughed lightly. Little brother is so cute, so cute. Just as Yi Yan was about to blow, banging sounds came from the surroundings. Countless figures descended from the sky with all kinds of weapons in their hands, staring at the siblings like tigers watching their prey. The jade flute in that little fellow's hand was actually a legendary primordial godly item. It had to be those 3 streaks of white light, but why did they fall into the hands of these 2 children? Chen Xuanzong also saw Dong Huangli. Why does she look so familiar? Where have I seen her before? Back then, during the martial arts competition, Dong Huangli appeared on the stage. Just that right now, Dong Huangli's face was very dirty, making it impossible to see her original appearance. However, Chen Xuanzong wasn't interested in the primordial godly item. He just wanted to see what would happen. Xian Ba, who was in the group, was also incomparably shocked. How did the primordial godly item fall into the hands of these 2 children? Should I snatch it over? However, snatching something that belongs to children seems a bit inappropriate. Yi Yan asked his big sister curiously, I haven't even played the flute, why did so many people come? They are all bad people. Dong Huangli began teaching her little brother on behalf of her father. Oh, so they are the bad people that Daddy and Mommy talked about. Yan, understands. Yi Yan nodded his head. So bad people all look like this. How am I supposed to differentiate them? Xian Ba could be seen walking out from the group with a smile on his face. Little friend, we are not bad people. Only bad people would say that they are not bad people. They are trying to deceive little children. Yi Yan pouted his small mouth and said angrily. Dong Huangli, who was at the side, looked at everyone vigilantly, prepared to protect her little brother at any moment. However, in the eyes of these people, Dong Huangli felt that Dong Huangli was very cute and very brave. Xian Ba, is this how your peace association bullies little children? A person could be seen standing out from the group of Justice and Justice Alliance, and shouted out while pointing at Xian Ba. However, his footsteps were slowly approaching the siblings. When Chen Xuanzong saw this person, his brows wrinkled. Xian Ba's expression became tense as he shouted out, Be careful! The burly man leaped up and pounced towards Yi Yan. Yi Yan was greatly shocked. Picking up the jade flute in his hand, he took a deep breath, then aimed at the jade flute and fiercely blew on it. Woo-woo! A sound wave spread out from the jade flute, and the pressure that came from the primordial godly item immediately engulfed the surroundings. A shock wave spread out with Yi Yan as the center. The robust man who was the closest to the jade flute didn't have the slightest bit of defense, and his entire body was frozen in the air. The sound wave caused the air to distort, and blood immediately flowed out from the robust man's 5 sense organs. After twitching for a few times, the robust man fell onto the ground. Not only the robust man, everyone else was the same as well. They were completely unable to withstand the attack of the primordial godly item, and all of their eardrums were ruptured, causing blood to flow out from their mouths. Right now, Yi Yan was still young, and he didn't know how to use his spiritual energy. If he were to use his spiritual energy to strengthen himself, the effect would most likely be even better. Perhaps from that attack just now, out of the thousands of people, only a few tens of people would be left alive. Yi Yan placed down the jade flute in his hand, then looked at the robust man in front of him and asked curiously, "Big sister, what happened to him?" He fell asleep. Dong Huangli explained a little. Right now, her little brother is still young. I can't let him know about this. Is that so? Uncle sure loves to sleep. Yi Yan pursed his lips, seemingly intending to practice the jade flute again. This action of his gave everyone a fright. If he were to blow a few more times, I'm afraid that all of us will die. Little friend, if there's anything you want to say, we can talk it out. Don't blow the flute. That's right, that's right. Children shouldn't blow the flute. And furthermore, it's already very late now. It wouldn't be good if we were to disturb other people's sleep. Everyone began persuading Yi Yan one after another. So, this is what an primordial godly item is capable of. When it falls into the hands of an ordinary child, it already possesses such might. If I were to obtain it myself, wouldn't I be able to soar into the sky? Hearing that, Yi Yan felt that what Dong Huangli said was reasonable as he said earnestly, we shouldn't disturb other people's sleep. Everyone immediately felt relieved. This little fellow is actually able to blow the flute. However, it's fine if I blow the flute in a lower volume, that way, I won't disturb other people. Chapter 587. Yi Yan frowned and said in a childish voice, "Do you think I'm not good at blowing?" When everyone heard this, they immediately panicked. This was simply a little ancestor. No, no, no. Little friend, you boasted so well that Uncle was mesmerized by it. That's right, that's right. It's the sound of nature. That's right, I'll fight with whoever dares to say anything bad about it. Yi Yan's face blossomed into a smile after hearing that. It turned out that she was still very smart. All right, then I'll brag for you again. Everyone wanted to die. Why were the children nowadays like this? They were really hard to coax. Little friend, you should save such a beautiful piece of music for an important moment. That's right. The environment here is so bad. It's simply a waste. We must arrange a big theater for you to perform well. When the time comes, you will be famous all over the world. Yi Yan felt that it made sense. After all, he was his father's son. How could he lose his father's face? Sister, they said Yan boasted very well. Yi Yan was a little proud. After all, he was still a child and liked to hear others praise him. Dong Huangli patted onto her little brother's head. Of course Yan is very talented. Is that so? Yi Yan looked at the jade flute in his hand and seemed to like it. However, Dong Huangli didn't expect that because of this incident, her younger brother would become the Shao deity in the future. The catchphrase was awesome. Believe it or not, I will blow you to death. Xianba really wanted the jade flute in Yi Yan's hands, but at the same time, he didn't want to hurt the children. They looked so innocent. In the end, this was Xinba's personal opinion, and it did not represent the opinion of others. This was an ancient godly item, and everyone wanted to possess it. Little friend, Uncle also has a flute here. How about we exchange? Uncle has one here too. It's prettier than his. Look, it's even glowing in different colors. Little friend, Uncle has a lollipop here. How about I exchange it with you? Yi Yan took a look at the things that the bad uncles were holding onto and pouted her small mouth. I am not a child. Unless it is 2 lollipops, I am not exchanging with you. 2 lollipops. But there was only 1. What should he do? Uncle will buy it from you later, okay? Yi Yan raised his chin. Not good. The little guy was quite stubborn. He actually didn't want to trade. The uncle couldn't take it anymore and shouted at the crowd, buy a lollipop at a high price. I'll use a spirit artifact to exchange for it. Not to mention, there really was a man who had it. Oi, I will use my spirit equipment to exchange for your lollipop. The male shouted out in a low voice. Exchanging a spirit equipment for an ancient godly item. What a good deal. The uncle's face darkened. Brother, you're too unkind. How is it unkind? Why don't we have a competition, and whoever wins gets it? Let's compete then. Do you think I'm scared of you? As the two of them spoke, they walked to the side and began a life-and-death battle for the lollipops on each other's bodies. There were also some people who wanted to wait for both sides to be injured so that they could rob them. Target: 2 lollipops. Looks like I'll have to carry more lollipops with me in the future. It's a necessary medicine to coax children. The people from the Peace Association began discussing about how to snatch Dong Huangli over. As long as we capture Dong Huangli, that child will definitely listen to us. Xianba fell into deep thought. In the end, he compromised on the condition that the child was not hurt. The people from the Peace Association shook their heads. In this dog-eat-dog world, there was no need for kindness. Otherwise, they would just be waiting to be butchered. However, Xianba was still a big boss, so everyone still had to listen to him. In actuality, Dong Huangli really wanted to learn from her father. Thinking back to the time when they were in Heaven's Palace, her father's domineering aura was truly unparalleled. However, he couldn't learn it at all. He didn't even know how to start. It was really frustrating. Just as Dong Huangli was pondering about how to imitate her father, a rope formed from spiritual energy instantly tied Dong Huangli up. Dong Huangli's expression changed. As expected of a group of bad uncles, to actually bully a child, Dong Huangli is not someone that should be provoked. A terrifying spiritual pressure erupted from Dong Huangli's small body, and the rope that was formed from spiritual energy was about to break apart. Not good. Everyone, let's go. This little girl is very strange. As he transferred his spiritual energy one after another, the situation became much more stable. F***CK. What are you people from the Righteous Alliance doing? Help me! When the people from the Righteous Alliance saw the spiritual pressure released by Dong Huangli, they were quite frightened. We didn't expect that this little girl would be so strong. We can only choose to cooperate with her and suppress her together. The spiritual energy released by over 1,000 people was very terrifying. Dong Huangli's small face became a bit sinister. These are all bad people. Yi Yan was so frightened that he started crying. Only now did he come back to his senses. Big sister, are you all right? Yan, don't cry, big sister is fine. Woo-woo, big sister looks to be in so much pain, Yan wants to save big sister. Hearing what Yi Yan said, one of the people from the Peace Alliance shouted out, Little friend, hand over the jade flute in your hand, and we will let your big sister go. That's right, hand it over, and we will let your big sister go. Without even thinking, Yi Yan threw away the jade flute that was in his hand. No matter how much I like it, it is not as important as my big sister. The jade flute drew a beautiful arc in the air. The gazes of over 1,000 people looked at the trajectory of the jade flute and immediately chased after it. At this moment, Dong Huangli also broke free from the restraint that was binding her. Big sister, I'm sorry, Yan is useless. Yi Yan immediately threw himself into his big sister's embrace and cried bitterly. I feel that I am so weak. Just now, big sister was bullied by others, and I could only watch on. Hearing that, Dong Huangli's heart ached. Be good. Yan, don't cry, Yan is still young. In the future, when Yan grows up, I will be able to protect big sister. Yi Yan was immersed in endless self-blame. Not only did he not calm down, his crying became even louder. Daddy, mommy, daddy, mommy, daddy, mommy. Yi Yan could be seen shouting towards the sky, shaking the entire world. Even the people who were fighting over the ancient godly item at the side were startled. This little fellow is actually scared to the point of directly shouting daddy and mommy. I am truly speechless. Even if your daddy and mommy came, it would still be useless. Perhaps it was because the commotion caused by the ancient godly item was rather big. A lot of people were rushing over towards the ancient godly item. Seeing this scene, Xianba shook his head. These people have all gone mad. For the sake of the ancient godly item, they are even killing each other. I have to go back and report the situation. Chen Xuanzong didn't join in the fight and just watched on coldly from the side. Meanwhile, Yi Yan's crying sound didn't stop at all. Yi Hua and Qingya, who were far away in Leisure Bar, felt their hearts sinking, and an overflowing killing intent immediately gushed out. Yan is actually asking me for help. Thank you, brothers, for the various tickets that you gave me. You're tuning in to the Xiaofan's Wuxia Tales YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.